reminiscing on a flashback. Hall of Fame name with a legacy that's long. That's the legend of the Armstrongs. Questions get answered, oh, you didn't know? Let's start the show.
Welcome back to the show. It's Road Dogg and Casio, and you're listening to Oh, You Didn't Know?
God, I'm good at that.
Road Dogg.
You know, the truth of it is, I ain't good at much. I'm gonna tell you that. I can two things I can do. One, juggle.
Really?
Juggle these. no. I can juggle, but not like chainsaws or nothing. And two, say the words "Oh, you didn't know" in a particular sound and whatever I'm trying.
One of them got you a podcast, so that worked out well.
Podcast, and we put it right in the name.
And we'll put a bonus show up of you juggling if you want to.
Okay, it'll probably have to be on OnlyFans, my OnlyFans page, where you can also find footwear and
footwear. Okay. Dog, would you rather have to announce to everyone around you whenever you have to fart or pee your pants once a day?
Oh, I already announce around to everyone that I'm gonna fart.
What?
Or at least I'll say afterwards, that was me, guys. I farted, something like that. You know what? That's not true. But one of my favorite things to do is, and this is the truth. I do it all the time. I wear CK1 cologne. It ain't expensive. I get I get it at the Dago Walgreens, and it's the travel size, and I can carry it with me when I travel. I spray it on. I put my clothes on. I do it on the back of my head, to tell you the truth. I spray it on the back of my head. Yeah, I don't know why. It's just what I do, back and neck and head. Then when people hug me or I say hey or I get in the car, people go, "Oh man, you smell good." Every time I go, "I just farted." Every time, that's my comeback. And it's so childish and ridiculous, but I just love it. And I loved it. I just did it yesterday at NXT. And it was a female that came up and hugged me. And she said, "Oh, you look great. And you smell great too." I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I just farted." And her face went from so happy to, "Oh my God, why would you say that?" Or why would
Do we know who it is? You guys say who it is?
No, I'm not going to say
Come on!
No, I'm not going to say who it is.
What does it rhyme with?
But she could be the NXT Women's Champion. But I'm not going to tell you who it is.
I like to yell cowabunga afterwards. So just to throw everybody off. But never announce why. I just go cowabunga and then see if they start picking up
yesterday. Flying home, flew from Pensacola to Orlando, both in Florida, but had to go to North Carolina to get there.
Oh, sure.
On American Airlines.
Sure, one of those.
Yeah. So I'm in the exit row seat, and there is a gentleman behind me who's large and in charge, and he, I think it was him. I'm blaming him because it wasn't me, and we were the only two big disgusting dudes in the area. You know what I mean? So one of us got the heat. No doubt one of us got the heat because I didn't know if he just passed gas or if he actually if it was a shart, if it was a full dump. I didn't know what rate.
Steven Seagal. He's
Steven Seagal. The guy Steven Seagal'd me.
Yeah,
he Seagal'd me. I've been Seagal'd. He Seagal'd me, but he didn't just Seagal me. He Seagal'd the entire rear half of the airplane.
Oh no!
I just sat in it. What are you gonna do? What can you do?
Taste it.
I sat.
That's it.
It was in my mouth. There was ketchup and onions, and no.
Yeah, that was one of them airport burgers he ate before he got on.
And bless his heart, you know what I did though in Charlotte while I was there? They got a Phillips seafood house and had me some of the miniature crab bites and lobster bisque.
Miniature crab bites sound amazing.
Yeah, it's little baby meatball crab bites.
You got a dipping sauce with it?
Oh yeah, a remoulade or something.
Oh yeah,
something of the sort. And it was hot. It was spicy. So I took turns dipping it in that and then ketchup. I'm a ketchup guy.
Ketchup?
I told you that before. Look, I plan meals around ketchup. I feel like some ketchup right now. I'm going to get corn dogs.
Disgusting. Everybody send Road Dogg some ketchup for Christmas.
I would love that because we are forever running out of it. So please. Don't send me none of that bull crap. It's Heinz or it's nothing at all.
Really? You're that picky?
I am.
Okay.
All
right.
Not with my mustard or my mayonnaise.
Well, mustard's got to be French's.
Yeah, you're right.
I think so.
It's going to be because it's the best and it's the cheapest.
What about mayonnaise? Are you a Duke's guy or are you a Hellman's?
No, but I like Duke's, but I don't know that I'd buy that. I just buy a Hellman's or whatever. I had a stint in my childhood where I was a, what's the other?
Miracle Whip.
Miracle Whip. I was a Miracle Whip
I knew you were
guy.
going to say that.
Yeah, but it was weird. It was just like, it was almost like trying out my sexuality. I went the other way for a little bit, but I came back. You know what I mean? Like it's
just to get it out of your system.
Hey,
see if it was your thing.
Look, it was elementary school. You got to figure it out quick.
Who didn't
nowadays,
go through
too.
a Miracle Whip phase in elementary? You know what I mean? Cast the first stone, not I.
Yeah.
We've all had a Miracle Whip phase. All right,
Lord, I love
let's get into some kind of wrestling. I think because I could talk condiments
the question
with you
is
for
why.
2 hours. I don't know, but apparently people are into it.
Okay.
Me and you are into condiments and crab bites, but
Yes.
today we're going to look back 5 years ago to talk about Clash of Champions 2017. Look at them good-looking folks right there.
They are good looking.
Woo!
They look like Soccer Mom and Soccer Mom.
AJ.
I'm just kidding. Charlotte looks anything other than like a soccer mom.
But AJ.
Yeah,
AJ
now.
does.
AJ now.
He's such a sports mom, too. Look at him.
Oh yeah, he is too. He's like,
He will bless out a ref in 2 seconds.
in a heartbeat because you know he's from Georgia. He's from South Georgia.
Yeah.
He takes his everything seriously, and I mean everything really. His wrestling too, and we're going to get into that in this podcast. Is about my true feelings about AJ Styles. But he takes it all very seriously, and so he has children that wrestle, that play sports, and he's literally. I just had to give him the night off because he got tickets, and he can do an ESPN interview and kind of help promote us.
Nice.
To the SEC championship game, and
That's
so
killer.
I thought. Dang, I wish I could go to the SEC championship game. But look, AJ, I love him to death. We'll talk about him here in a minute.
All right, we're coming on the timeline. We're coming off Survivor Series from last month and the Clash of Champions.
And
What's
by
that?
the way, this is when I am the lead writer.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why we're talking about it. We're not
Okay,
just
I figured
picking out
that.
random pay-per-views.
Okay.
We want the.
I
I'm
didn't
glad
know.
but I'm glad you clarified for everybody because that is why we're doing it.
Yeah,
you are involved.
If it's good, then I did it. If it's not, then it was all Vince. Okay. Let's just keep it that way.
Deal.
I feel like that works for me.
If I bring something up, you just go Vince, and we'll move on. We're coming off the Survivor Series from last month. Clash of Champions will be the last pay-per-view of 2017. Dog, coming out of Survivor Series, are you already preparing for WrestleMania, or is Royal Rumble the focus for now?
Excuse me. So look, you're always, especially this close, you're always thinking about WrestleMania because you have to start there and work backwards. And so it's in the purview for sure. WrestleMania is, but you do have to focus on the storytelling. You know, maybe it's 4 weeks, maybe it's 6 weeks, and I'm not sure how this worked out. Sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 3, sometimes, you know what I mean? You got different lengths of time in between pay-per-views or premium live events, as they're called now. So, crap, I forgot where I was at.
Focusing on
you're
Mania
you're always focusing on WrestleMania. Like I said, especially when you get this close, you're now writing stuff to get you there. You might have prior to November, you might have been booking stuff to get to the next pay-per-view or weekly or, you know what I mean? You might just be kind of nudging along, but once you get this late in the year, everything is driving towards WrestleMania. And so, but you got to get there. So we can't sit there too long. We got to come back and work through these pay-per-views to get us there. And we have to execute these pay-per-views in a way that gets us there in a feasible way that makes sense to some people. And of course, you're going to get your protractors that that aren't happy with anything you do. But yeah, so WrestleMania is always in sight.
Coming out of Survivor Series, the main story is between Shane McMahon, Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
How involved are these four in their storyline?
Oh, very, very involved. Very involved. And look, that's what I always say is, and I think it's totally that way now, and it was that way then too, is if a guy can add to it, and it not only makes what your vision, it not only executes your vision, but adds to it because his personal flavor's in there now. Oh my God, yeah, you're stupid for not utilizing them and their egos, their personalities, their everything, their humor, their everything. You know what I mean? And these four particularly can do it really well and be all of the above really well. And so yeah, to not include them in the construction of segments and stuff would just be shooting yourself in the foot. And look, I'm not saying that's not done for others. There are others that are written for, and you say this, and this is what we're going to say, and this is how we're going to do it. Those are people who don't, I don't know of another word to say it, but I don't know any other way to articulate it. They don't have the trust yet of the upper echelon, of the people that you have to have their trust to send them out there and kind of ad lib. Like, I know he's not going to go so far off the rails that we're going to get off story, or even worse, we're going to get sued, or, even worse than that, lose sponsorships and stuff like that. So it's a trust issue when it comes to promos. The original question was, were they involved in their storyline? You dang right. It would be stupid of me not to utilize them and their opinions.
Is this when Sami started to step up in your mind? You could see kind of the beginning of the character he's playing today with the bloodline starting to come to the surface.
Yeah, well, look, I'll tell you what the great thing about Sami is. He's always been that good. He always has been. He just didn't have the opportunity to literally look what he's done, and it's not his work. I can't even remember the last time he wrestled, and I wouldn't care if I could, because it's the backstages, it's the interactions with the Usos in the ring, and that's Sami. That's what's so great. That's why they're laughing through this crap. This is Sami, but you cut from him doing that, acting that way, and he immediately goes right back to serious overthinking Sami, who says, we could do that better. That could do that again. If I said this here and you said that, and he's just a thinking man's wrestler, and he's always going. And so Kevin's the same way, kind of. It can get very taxing. And I've heard it be told, like, holy mackerel, just like you can get Steven Seagal, you can get Sami Zayn. And it's just in a corner and it's all valid, thoughtful conversation because he's a great human being.
Is perfectionist a good word for it?
Yeah. Perfectionist, but not in a I don't know. He's just tedious. He's very tedious, and he wants to know. And that's a good thing, because you can't, things can get lost in conversation. So you can't just assume that the other guy understands. And so he wants to talk it out, and talk it out he does. And that can be a little taxing at times, but man, he's a genius. And isn't there something about, genius is borderline psycho, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't mean that in a negative way either. Sami knows how much I love him. I hope he does anyway. If he hears this and's angry, I'll tell him again how much I love him. But like, he's such a great guy. And he's always been this talented. He's just now really getting an opportunity to show it.
Thinking back at this time in 2017, was there any idea at this point that Bryan might be able to wrestle soon? Do you remember that?
No. So no. And from my mind anyway, like, it was like, no, he can't, and he never will. So that's that.
Don't even talk about it.
Acceptance is the key. You know what I mean? I accept that he is my authority figure and cannot be punched or punch. And so that's that. Now, where's the show go? You know what I mean?
Right.
And so yeah, until he got cleared, I didn't even know he was getting tested. And that's the way I wanted it, because it was, for me finding out, it was the same exact feeling when everybody found out. It was, you know what I mean? I had that feeling personally for a couple reasons. Holy crap. A few. Daniel Bryan can wrestle again. That's awesome for
Got a
me
stud
because
back.
because I'm the creative guy behind the show he's on. Selfish. Next thought, like, oh man, that's awesome. He's in a thing with Shane. He can do this. Now I'm working through the creative of how I'm going to use him. Again, selfish, and I apologize. But now I think, holy crap, Daniel has wanted to, Daniel Bryan. I call him Daniel. I know his name's Bryan. I apologize. But Daniel's wanted to wrestle his whole life, and he got that taken away from him. And now he got it given back to him. Like how does it have to feel for him? And I'm sorry to say that thought wasn't the first one. You know what I mean? Looking in retrospect, but you're dug in, man, and you're thinking about the show every week, every day, every hour. And I thought of myself first. I apologize.
Naomi was getting her makeup done and bummed about losing the match at Survivor Series. At least she sold it. Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, and Sarah Logan showed up and beat her up. Lynch tried to make the save, and they destroyed her, turning a table over on her, throwing her into all sorts of furniture, and slammed a door on her ribs twice. So that's her injury angle for the movie. The debut of the Riot Squad officially, dog. How does the NXT call-ups work at this time? Is it Hunter saying, hey, it's time? Are you watching the product and coming up with ideas for them?
Yeah. So all of the above, to be quite honest with you, because there's not a strict, streamlined process. Especially now that Hunter is in charge of the creative, he understands much more about giving fair warning so you can write the person out or write the person off or however you're going to do it. It gives you time to prepare creatively for that, like a heads up. So sometimes we got those and sometimes we didn't. I think going forward, you'll always, I'm speaking now from NXT creative experience. We had time to prepare to send people off, but sometimes we got, hey, we're taking this person because we got an idea for this and this, and you could be in the middle of something with them or not, and there they went, you know what I mean, and there they go. So I don't think it'll be that way anymore because I think everybody understands a little. At least let me beat him on the way out, or let me do something to close the book on his character or whatever. Give us time to create something. I think that'll happen a lot now. Here with these ladies, like we just brought up a bunch because I think we needed some new stuff. I think things felt like we need a shot in the arm here. These ladies were all very talented, all bombastic and colorful, and like it felt like a shot in the arm, like a breath of fresh air, and like youth. You know what I mean? And so yeah, all of the call-ups this time I felt were really good.
This is a big step for them to debut, to not only attack Naomi, but also Becky Lynch. Now, this isn't the man that she will become, of course, but this is still big names for them to immediately get involved in. By the way, Becky at this time is going off to film The Marine 6 with Shawn Michaels and The Miz. Be honest, dog, did you watch The Marine 6?
I did not.
Okay.
Should I have? Was it good?
No, I didn't watch it. No,
come on. That
wanted to get you on record.
That was your chance to go, yeah. And I'll tell you what, there's some Oscar buzz.
Well, they're not going to see me and get mad at me for not watching it. They'll see you in person. So.
I will have no problem telling them. Didn't watch the first 5 either, boss. Don't feel like the Lone
You didn't fade on the franchise. You just never jumped in.
I never bought in.
There's some
because I wasn't in the Marine. That's why I didn't.
Why were you not in the dadgum Marine?
Because
the Marine
John
on
Cena
staff
and Miz look like they look, and I look like you.
Well, Sean was in it.
I know, but he was good looking when he was young. It counts. Some holdover love. There's some holdover love. It rolls over.
Some good memories there.
You know what I mean? It's a nostalgic rollover.
There's some discourse between Shane and Bryan on camera. Was there talk of having one of them turn heel on each other at all?
Well, see, we couldn't do anything. And you're talking about, we didn't know, at the time, we didn't know Bryan could, so we couldn't have anybody turn heel on anybody.
Right. So it's just
what discourse. We could do was just have the honest and almost real, Well, I mean, we emphasized it, of course, but look, Shane felt one way about stuff and Bryan felt another way about stuff. And Shane was like the sports entertainment guy and Bryan was like the wrestler guy. And they went back and forth about stuff. And so I thought the dynamic between the two was great without ever getting that heated. You know what I mean? And then, of course, when we knew we could do it, we really leaned into it.
Rowan and Harper as the Bludgeon Brothers beat Ryder and Rawley in 1 minute and 24 seconds with a double power bomb on Rawley. It was what it should have been, basically total one-sided destruction. That's what the Observer says. Is that what it should have been?
Yeah, 100%, and especially where both of those teams were. And look, you can say what you want to say about what were they called? The
Hype Bros.
No, the other
Bludgeon
team.
Brothers.
The Bludgeon Brothers. You can say what you want, and I know there was a lot of jokes about the name and their outfits and all that stuff, but that's a lot of jokes from people that are watching every week, so I appreciate you tuning in. But say what you want, but that's where they were, and that's what we were doing, and they were getting the shove like the big bad asses that they were, excuse me for cursing, but they were big bad dudes that would dominate two guys, especially two guys that have been on the short end of a bunch of sticks in matches lately, and we're about to split them up and see what we can do with them apart. You know what I mean? And because look, I always thought you could have used those guys in totally two different things. And I think Mojo had some legs. I just think people didn't like him because he wasn't a real wrestler from wrestling or anything. But I think Mojo has a lot to offer. And I think if people got to know him, they'd get to like him. Because I know Gronkowski is loved in America. And Mojo is his friggin' twin brother. And that's just the truth. They are two peas in a pod, man. And
Incredible personality.
Yeah, just incredible. So, and look, Zack Ryder, also, I was writing when he took the Intercontinental title down on top of a ladder at WrestleMania, because I'm a huge fan of Zack Ryder, always have been. And I know he says Zack Ryder's dead and Matt Cardona is alive and kicking. And good for him. Good for him. He is doing really well on the independent circuit. He's the king of the indies, man. And there's something to be said about that because he's a hustler and he's hustling himself, his own product.
So this was the right time for both.
Yeah. It was the right time for that finish to happen. We were, as we were about to read. We're
going to get into them breaking up. Just a little bit.
But it also, I wanted to cover the other teams where they were at too. They were the Bludgeon Brothers, and so they had to bludgeon somebody, and these guys got the nod. And the reason they did was because and then they can break up out of frustration afterwards. You know what I mean? And so go ahead and read that next line.
We're gonna get into a little bit of the women's side, and then come back to the Hype Bros. Okay. Natalya and Charlotte's story continues since Charlotte defeated Natalya for the women's title, but Natalya brings up Ric Flair being a hot mess in a promo. Was Rick always a phone call away to come in at this point?
Yeah. And look, Rick is Rick. It was always going to be what it was always going to be when he came in. But yeah, he was just a phone call away, and we could get. I mean, I think they did the thing prior to this with Brett and Rick at NXT. You know what I mean? In their corners, and so we talked about trying to make that happen. And so he was just a phone call away.
Did Charlotte ever have any issues with her father being involved, or did she love it?
Well, I think she was torn, and I don't think she showed it a lot, but I think she was torn as, this is my time, man. This is my prime time of my career, and here I am in his shadow again. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or I can understand her thinking that because I relate, and that may be insecurities talking, but maybe I just feel like I felt at times, I wish I could just do this on my own. You know what I mean?
I think that's standard human nature. You know
what
I
mean?
It is.
I think it is too, no matter who's father, brother, sister, whatever. Like, man, I love teaming with you, but God, I'd love to get out on my own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just, and then the band breaks up and.
But I mean, Rick helps her career. If Rick is there, it helps her. But also,
100%.
As a human, you want to go, I want to do this.
I want to stand on my own 2 feet.
There's people always going to say, well, you're there because you're dad, or you're there, whatever.
Yeah.
And so she wants to. I could see that happen, of course.
People say that about me all the time on Twitter because they're so hateful, spiteful. They say you just got there because your dad was a wrestler. I was like, my dad was a wrestler like 40 years ago, guys. And then I forget, like I was a wrestler 30 years ago. I meant to say my dad was a wrestler like 140 years ago.
There's also a lot of wrestlers who have people in the biz that didn't make it. So you still got to make it and be good. Yeah. You can get to a certain point, sure, but you've got to get over the hump.
You got to stand on your own 2 feet.
Yeah. From the Observer, Styles came out. They played a tape of a backstage interview Heyman did after the match. Heyman put over Styles as the greatest in-ring performer he had ever seen, saying he'd seen everyone up close and that Styles to this generation is every bit what Flair, Michaels, and Bret Hart were to their generations. Only because of evolution, he's ahead of them as well. An interesting note is that Heyman, even though he was working, actually does believe that. When it comes to hindsight, the decision to replace Mahal with Styles for the main event better not be second-guessed by anybody. Do you agree with what Paul Heyman said here regarding AJ Styles?
100%, except I wouldn't have involved Bret Hart in that conversation. But I'm just kidding.
So you're saying AJ Styles is a better sports entertainer than Bret Hart?
No. I'm saying he's a better wrestler.
Everything.
I wanted to back out of that gracefully, and you made me get into it a little bit.
I'm shoveling with you. Come on.
I think AJ Styles is, if not the best right now. Look, and let's say then he has been working very hard ever since he showed up at the Rumble that year. And so he's older now and he's slower now and he's like wants to work smarter now. But in when he first got here, and I still think he was very much in his prime, the road puts it on you. You know what I mean? TVs and the road and that life. You careful what you wish for, because it ain't easy. And so he's tired now. But man, when he first got there ain't nobody works like he does. He works like everything he does in the ring from bell to bell is real. And that's what I love about AJ Styles. It's just, look, I love to have fun when I was in the ring, but when I was involved in the physicality, I always like to think I did it like it was real. You know what I mean? Unless I was having fun or something. But AJ works so hard on making every single thing he does look real. It's so admirable and such a lost art that it's still great to see him do it. And I know people go, oh, Kenny Omega, oh, this guy, oh, that guy. I don't care who you're talking to. If you're asking me my opinion, AJ Styles is one of the best, if not the best wrestler I've ever been in the ring with, seen, watched from, you know what I mean, at home like a fan, watched in the arena like a fan. He's one of the best I've ever seen. And that's my opinion on AJ Styles.
Jinder Mahal challenges AJ for his rematch at Clash of Champions in Boston. This makes sense, of course, but was there ever talk of putting the belt back on Jinder?
No. Once it got moved,
that chapter was closed.
Yeah, that chapter was closed. And I don't know if it was thought about again. And look, I don't know, because this is one of the decisions that I did not make. It was made in a collaboration, but I did not go up and go, hey, we have an idea. Let's do this. You know what I'm saying? That did not come from my team. So when we got back to it after he had already dropped it to AJ, we didn't go back to him and go, hey, let's do this again. But we also, it was also the end of the Singh Brothers and some stuff. And I hated that part, because I still to this day think the Jinder Mahal package with the Singh Brothers and the Tron and the colors and the entrance is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And I'm not even kidding. And it's, I say that, of course, I took some small part in creating that, but everybody else built the video wall, you know what I mean? And so it's just cool for me to see that and go, man, that was awesome. And I know people disagreed with giving him the title, but from the minute the decision was made, I was 100% on board for a couple of reasons. When the lieutenant says your platoon's going to charge this machine gun bunker, you don't go, you know what? I've been thinking about that, sir, and we're not gonna do that. You know what I mean? You follow the friggin' orders. You get marching orders. You follow the orders, and that's how you keep peace and keep everything in between the lines. And so that's the decision you're given. So you run with it 100%. And if you don't get behind it 100%, it's going to show in the product, and it's going to show to everybody around you that's working with you. So I was in. Let's do it. It's wrestling. Let's do it. What is it going to do? Like where are we at now?
Right.
Best thing ever, right?
Yeah.
Wrestling's hot as ever. Both shows are kicking off. Monday Night Raw is hotter than it's ever been. Or hotter than it's been in 20 years. That's for dang sure. SmackDown is on fire. Their show is a must-see, and Raw's getting that way too if you love wrestling, because there's really good wrestling matches put on Monday nights now. And it's people that you don't see, and there's clean finishes, and it's not a task to watch Monday Night Raw anymore, and that's saying something. So we're in a great place in wrestling, and guess what? Jinder Mahal was the champion, guys. How did it exist? How did it go on after that horrible creative decision was made? How did we keep our shutters rolled up? Like it's just, that's what drives me crazy. Is like, just think farther than your nose for one time and go, yeah, hey, what if I buried like Carl Gotch on here? You think anybody would give a crap? Like, I don't even know anybody who knows what, you know what I mean? Like 8 people would go like, I can't believe he buried Carl Gotch. But you bury Bret Hart and like, okay, now the world's against you. Okay. But then, time forgives everything. Yeah. And so even in phony baloney wrestling, where we make up who's doing what, Jinder Mahal was the champion. And he was a good champion. He looked great. He was a tall, good-looking Indian man, like representing a culture with a huge audience. Oh my God, I'm sorry we made a decision based on business. We were trying to keep our business open. But I want people to realize time marches on, man. He was some wrestling fans just got hot about that. And I know some of them personally who were producers at the time. So
they were in-house.
They were literally working with me, sitting next to me. But what are you going to do? You going to do that? And I ain't helping. You're just mad and fussing. You ain't helping nobody. Get on board, man. Let's make this as good as it can be. And that's what you do. And the people that hated it still hate it. And the people that don't. Like if you were a layperson watching and that presentation with those dudes and him coming out, and I don't know, that's something to me. That's a sight to see, you know.
Saw him in person, and we'll get back to the storyline, but I love Jinder, and we've talked about it before. I saw him at the hotel in New Orleans before the Mania there. Yeah. And he's what you want a wrestler to look like.
Exactly.
He was chiseled. He was lean where he's supposed to be. He was bulky where he did. He looked like $1 million.
Yep.
And
went, about 6'6".
I believe in that guy.
And 100%.
Huge.
And he's a great guy who really turned his life around and is living right. And for people to not, that's my problem, is I am too close to it. And I know the dude, you know what I mean? And so anybody that rants against the dude, just kind of a Nick, you know?
'Tis the season for clean balls. Fa la 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 la. Yeah. Our friends at Manscaped are helping you clear your driveway for safe travels this holiday season. From stocking stuffers to white elephants, Manscaped's products are at the top of every wish list. Grab some crop mops for your pops or the body buffer for the holiday lover. When this year's white elephant gift, and help all the men in your life go from eggnog to nice hog this December by going to manscaped.com and using code DOGG, D-O-G-G. That gets you 20% plus free shipping. Manscaped is a one-stop shop for all your holiday needs. They have the perfect gift in the Platinum Package 4.0, plus loads of little presents perfect for stocking stuffers. So what better holiday gift than giving the gift of good hygiene and a few laughs? Manscaped offers a handful of their liquid formulations, shampoos, body washes, upstairs and downstairs deodorant, gels, exfoliants, absolutely everything they could need to keep it clean. So don't let their chestnuts roast in the wrong boxers. Get them a pair of Manscaped boxers, specially made to keep the area cool and provide holiday comfort all year round. And now that you've gifted them the perfect privates, go beyond the grown with Manscaped's full body product line. Dad has nasty nose hairs. Save his life with the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer. The Shears 2.0 is their full kit for nail care with scissors, clippers, tweezers, and a file for the traveling man. Plus, there's the new Preserve Cologne. That brings a light, breezy, woodsy feel to your woods and gives that fresh tree scent even after the Christmas is over. And if you're still using a loofah, lose it. Introducing the Body Buffer. Loofahs actually hold bacteria from dead skin, so help them throw out that disgusting old loofah and get the body scrubber that feels smoother but acts tougher. Lastly, top off the stocking with the crown jewel for their family jewels, the Lawnmower 4.0. The electric razor's advanced skin-safe technology is a life changer and known for reducing nicks and cuts on his Santa sack. Manscaped is here to make holiday shopping a blast, giving products they'll love and make them laugh in the process. You can get 20% off and free shipping with the code DOGG, D-O-G-G, at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code D-O-G-G. Manscaped, for a perfect gift that will be the holiday's biggest hit. And we thank our friends at Manscaped for sponsoring this week's podcast. The Riot Squad beats up both Charlotte and Natalya in a match. They really get a big push when they come up. What is it about them that led to this? What is it about the Riot Squad that you guys saw?
Look, I said some of it earlier, but I'll reiterate it because obviously you weren't listening. I think it was... I'm just kidding. I think they were great. I think you're gonna hear some of my opinions about them here in a minute that might shock some people. But I thought they were great. I thought it was 4 young, beautiful women that all could work, and they're coming in to. Well, Liv was really the greenest at the time, but she was in the ring and she was beautiful and she could wrestle. It wasn't like she, we grade on a curve here because. When we say you can go, whether you're a male or a female, you can go. You know what I mean? And so she was learning to go at the time. But yeah, there were 3 beautiful women that we're going to add to any women's division that we could do. We brought them in 3 at a time. We were going to try to eventually break them up and use them. Look, it's just difficult to put 3 or 4 people together because then it's hard to book and create and write for them individually without the others being involved. Like, how do you get heat on that person when their partner doesn't come out and save them? And so it's not a non-starter. It's just, you got to, go through extra creative hurdles to make stuff like that happen when you put a bunch of people together. We thought we'd get them in, get them established, and then split them apart and sprinkle them throughout all the women's divisions, and they would be great additions to it,
Main event saw Owens and Zayn beat Kingston and Big E in a lumberjack match in 11 minutes and 49 seconds. So at first, the story was that when Kingston was on the floor, nobody did anything. When Zayn was on the floor, all the lumberjacks attacked him. Kingston attacked Owens, but Zayn was the legal man, and he pinned Kingston with a schoolboy. Rusev then attacked Big E. Then there was a big brawl involving all the lumberjacks. Owens ran away. Zayn tried to run away, but Woods stopped him and threw him into the ring. All the lumberjacks brawled to the back, with Kingston giving Zayn trouble in paradise, and E laid out Zayn with the big ending. Owens ran backstage. Bryan saw him and asked how he could leave his partner out to dry like that. Owens got on his knees and begged not to be fired. Owens begged, and then Bryan said he was never going to fire him because he realizes their value and wanted Owens to face Orton next week. The tease back and forth on this is some really good stuff, storytelling-wise, but the ability for Owens to turn into a heel is pretty tremendous, isn't it?
Yeah, well, look, Kevin's just like Sami. They're literally. It's funny to say they're cut from the same cloth, man. They're great friends and very similar personalities and very similar athletes. The whole deal. They're kind of the Robert Fuller, the Colonel Parker brand. Their bodies don't look great, but they're great wrestlers. You know what I mean? And so it's Colonel Parker looked good when he was younger. I didn't mean to say that. Or me. I always referred to myself as a modern day Robert Fuller when I wrestled because I didn't look great, but I had a lot of great animation and movement. So what were we talking about again?
We're talking about the Owens ability to turn into a heel.
Yeah,
awesome.
man. Okay, look, Kevin and Sami are both. They can do exactly what you need them to do, and they're both great at promos. And so anytime you can get a guy from a creative writing standpoint, and you're writing of a television show, anytime you get a talent that can pull off like a whole segment of television, and a segment of television can vary from 5 minutes on our show, from 5 minutes to 12 minutes, something like that. So anybody that could carry, I would say, an 8-minute segment with a promo segment, like just talking, you got something there, because they're very few and far between. You really have something special if you got that. If the guy can work, holy crap. You know what I mean? Holy crap. And so we got that when we got Kevin and Sami. And so they were both of them very talented individuals, and you see that to this day, both of them on top of the world in the last pay-per-view and on every TV show. So, yeah, still going strong, those cats. And that's a testament to their talent.
At the time, November 2017, Batista is on the former Ross Report podcast with good old JR. And said he was talking with Vince McMahon about returning for one final run. When you hear that, do you go to Vince and say Batista would look great on the blue brand? Are you vouching for him? Are you wanting him? What did you think?
I didn't know Batista. I had met Batista a few times, but it was very clear that he was coming back and going to Raw. so I never asked.
Saved you some time.
Yeah. Look, and this is a time where this is a different time too, and I know it's only 5 years ago, 6 years ago, something. Very different time as far as the television show goes. I mean, you would dare to say that SmackDown now is your leading show. You know what I mean? Like, you could argue that with some facts to back up your argument. So that wasn't the case then. Raw is and still is the flagship show, but SmackDown's on a bigger, company, bigger network, into more houses, and you know what I mean. So it's a lot of arguments about that. But back then it wasn't like that. Who gets the big star coming in? Raw does. You know what I mean? And that's the way it was in the drafts, everything. And so I didn't fight that because I agree with it. I don't know that I do now because, like I said, things have changed.
Notes from the 11/28 SmackDown tapings in Lexington. The show started with Shane out. He said he was about to fire Owens and Zayn last week because they had no respect for the roster. The commission office or the fans.
No, they don't have any respect. That's why he was going to fire him. And let me tell you, look, this is what I talked about earlier when I said that kind of he was like the authority and Daniel was like the wrestling fans wrestler. You know what I mean? Who chose these two guys. And he said it in the backstage last week that you just read. I'm not going to fire you. I was never going to fire you. I know your worth. But Shane was going to fire him. So this just added into the Game of Thrones, you know what I mean? Lord Varys and Littlefinger, behind everybody's back. And so look, that's what makes great television. That's why this bloodline thing is so good right now. And sometimes we could pull it off and sometimes we couldn't. But with Shane and Daniel and all that, we were pulling it off. It was really good. And of course, now they're pulling it off with bells on it.
He said Bryan had another idea that on paper was a major idea and figured Bryan would then fire them after the Lumberjack match, but that didn't happen. He said he and Bryan had been talking all week and called out Bryan. Shane brought up that Owens had beaten up his father, that Zayn cost him his Hell in the Cell match with Owens, and then at Survivor Series, they betrayed the entire SmackDown roster. Bryan said that he has a good eye for real talent, They are real talent, and if we fire them, they'll just go to Raw. Shane said that was fine, as Stephanie can have the problem. Bryan said that if you want to have have a general manager who recognizes talent and uses it the best we can, then he's the guy. Shane decided to keep Bryan, liked his idea of Orton versus Owens this week, but added a no DQ clause and that Zayn would be barred from ringside. Owens and Zayn were backstage and saw Bryan, and then Zayn said he can't be banned, and Owens said a no DQ match was unfair. When asked about overruling the steps, Bryan said, hell no. If Bryan does not get cleared for WrestleMania, which you said at the time you did not know, you didn't pay attention to, you assumed that was the deal, where was this originally supposed to go? Was Bryan ever going to be the manager for Owens and Zayn? Do you remember that coming up?
No, we did not have that conversation at all. We just thought, at the time, we just thought Daniel was never going to work, so he's just going to be like... So another thing happened this time. This is also very close to the time that those two got in trouble. So we went off of, art imitates life. We went off of that and like, hey, give these troublemakers to Raw. Let Stephanie have this trouble. You know what I mean? And so we kind of utilized that. And Daniel Bryan was the guy that chose these two that were indie darlings, that were wrestling fans. Darlings, you know what I mean? And so the wrestling fans, the smart fans, if you will, knew that, and so it automatically made Daniel the babyface. You know what I mean? And so Shane's the heel. We can't have that match. What are we gonna do? You know what I mean? And I don't even know where we ended up going, to tell you the truth. And hopefully you'll tell me here in a minute.
Harper and Rowan beat Ryder and Rawley. We're going to get to this here in 44 seconds with the double choke slam on Ryder. Ryder did an interview and talked about how as a team they went from being top contenders for the titles to now hitting rock bottom, losing so quickly. Rawley then jumped Ryder and beat him down, saying the Hype Bros are dead. Rawley showed great intensity in the beatdown. Fans chanted, "This is awesome," as they were just happy to see an angle. The split had been built up for some time, and it's at least something for both of them to do. Rawley did an interview and said the landscape has now changed. This was the perfect time for the Hype Brothers to be done, right?
100%. Look, they knew it too. It was their idea. Because truth be told, and this is sad to say, but like those guys were so. I mean, listen to what we're talking about with Shane and Daniel Bryanson, or whatever his flipping name is, Bryan Danielson in the main event or in the opening promo seg, and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Like we had big stars doing things there. I didn't think about these guys a lot, to tell you the truth, and that's on me. I could have given them more. Having said that, we gave them things and people weren't connecting with them in the things we gave them. I don't want to say they didn't get over, but because I don't know that we gave them an opportunity to, and that's on me. And so I take that. However, at this point, people didn't like it no more. They didn't like it no more. You know what I mean? Like it was a common thing. Like, okay, what are we doing here? And when he says they just wanted to see an angle, they've been seeing really good angles on TV. I think he meant in this specific storyline. Yeah. They just were happy to see something happen. You know what I mean? And they were, and that's a true statement. And I agree with it, and that's sad. But I take the heat for that because I was the lead writer. You know what I mean? So we didn't give them a good enough opportunity.
Styles beat the Singh Brothers in 3 minutes and 54 seconds. It started with Mahal jumping Styles and beating him down before the match. This was all intense action. The crowd was hot. It was mostly Styles being beaten on until he kicked Mahal off the apron, then gave one of the Singhs a Styles clash off the middle rope after blocking a Frankensteiner off the top and landed on the other brother in the ring, and Styles got the pin. The entire scenario was well done, and Styles looked great, and the Singhs were great in their role. Mahal then turned on the Singhs and laid both out with the Kalas.
The Kalas. You know what that means?
No.
It means like the finish, the end.
Does it?
Because we were coming up with his finish. We said, well, what does that mean? The finish, the end. And they were like, Kalas. And I was like, what? The what? I still probably pronounced it wrong.
Sounds so much cooler.
Yeah, I probably still said it wrong. But yeah, it's called the finish or the end. And so it was perfect.
Well, this was also the Kalas of any type of significant push for the Singhs. Do you think there was more to do with them?
I almost spit my Powerade out on you.
You think there was more to do with them that just never got to realize, never came to fruition?
100%. Huge fan of the Singh brothers. Always have been. They're great guys. They're just great people, and they always loved me and my brothers, and we always messed around with them. I loved them as the Bollywood boys in NXT. I thought they had great matches. They work well. They're not the biggest guys in the world, but I think there's an audience for that now. You know, look, if it was up to me, they'd be on the roster right now, and that's honestly how I feel about those guys, because I think they're good kids, and I think they'd be great employees, and I think they'd be great representatives for the company.
Riott and Logan and Morgan beat Charlotte and Naomi and Natalya in 9 minutes and 10 seconds, and Daddy walked out of the match after the first exchange. Then outside the ring, Logan took out Naomi's knee, and Riott and Morgan beat her down and threw her shoulder into the barricade. That's rude. They threw the ring steps on her then. Logan catapulted Naomi's head into the steps, so she was selling an injury and had medical personnel working on her. This left Charlotte alone with all three. Logan hit a knee to the head, and Riott used a head kick for the pin. The one thing really clear watching this is Morgan is completely miscast as a babyface, says the Observer. You talked about Liv was the greenest at the time, but did you guys already see, hey, she could be a star? I mean, look at her now. But in 2017, were you already seeing glimpses of this?
So not for me, not me.
Okay.
Obviously, the Observer did, but they just got it wrong because they said she was miscast. She got over this time as a babyface. You know what I mean? So she obviously not a heel. She's a babyface. Because she was so green, and I'll tell you this, and this is nothing against Liv. I think she's improved 100-fold, and she's a legitimate star now, and I book her on live events as such, you know what I mean, and put her in positions that position her as such. And so that's a different show for a different, story for a different show. But for me, it was always Ruby Riott. Ruby Riott was always the one. I still, to this day, think she's the one out of those three. Now, that is just my personal opinion. But I thought she could work. I thought she could cut promos. I thought she kind of was the total package, but she didn't look like Liv. You know what I mean? And so that's what I figure was the the end all be all. But I was a huge fan of Ruby Riott, and still to this day a huge fan of her and Liv and Sarah too, for that matter. Sarah Logan's back now, and I always love seeing her. She's fun to be around, and what a great name. You know what I mean? I'm going to go back after I'm watching Game of Thrones again now, as you can probably tell. But I'm going to go back and watch through again. Vikings, great show. Because what a great show, man, and what a great character builder, and just great storytelling. So I'll go back and watch that, and that name reminded me. That's why. But Valhalla, she's a great look. All three of them are delights to work with, and great at what they do. So that's not what I'm getting at here. I'm sure the highlight will be Road Dogg hates Liv Morgan or something. But that's couldn't be further from the truth. Love her. Love all three of the girls. I was just personally, what I saw with my little eye was little short, scrappy, tattooed girl. Like she's the underdog outsider that people can relate to, and that's what I thought. And I still feel that way.
I can't wait till everybody says that Road Dogg says he's a better sports entertainer than Liv Morgan. That's all it'll get back to everybody.
So if you want to say that again, we'll just leave some cut room.
In a loud and clear voice. Owens pinned Orton in 16 minutes and 40 seconds of the no DQ match.
They got some time, dog.
Yeah, that's some time right there. This was really good in many ways. It was Orton at his best, as far as being what Orton is, which is the total pro in the ring with a superstar aura about him. Orton gave Owens a back suplex on the barricade. He'd done the move earlier, and another back suplex on the announcer's table, which didn't break, for the record. Owens then ran away into the stands. He was running down the ramp when Zayn, who was banned, showed up and nailed Orton in the knee with a chair.
But where did he hit him? He hit him in the knee, but where were they at when he hit him?
On the ramp?
That is a prepositional phrase, and it is not at the ringside area. Remember that.
Whoa, a prepositional
two
phrase.
prepositional phrases. completely separate of each other.
They may technically say that because they were on the ramp and Zayn wasn't at ringside.
What?
He didn't violate the banned from ringside stipulation. Zayn gave him more chair shots to the back and left. They are now calling Zayn the guardian angel of Owens. They must have said that 10 times trying to drum that line into your head, where it became another example of the fake corporate speak. In the ring, Owens hit a chop block, a super kick, and won after a frog splash. There's a lot there. First of all, how good are these two together, Owens and Orton, and of course, Sami? But these two are magic together. I mean, that's why you put them together, as you know.
And it's exactly why I put them together and gave them the last 3 segments of the show. It's exactly why. You know what I mean? And what we probably did was in the third to last segment, gave one an entrance, and then sold the lower third graphic. Holy crap! Next up, Randy Orton versus so-and-so. Then we came back and got the other guy's entrance, and they worked for 5 minutes and went to break. Came back and worked for 8 and got to there. So it's awesome. It's television wrestling at its finest. It's pro wrestling at its finest.
Sammy swerve was perfect.
Yeah, every bit of that was really good. And look, they said so. They agreed. And so whether they like me or not, they liked some of the crap I put on television.
There was a report out a few weeks ago regarding Randy Orton and a major back surgery. Do you think we've seen the last of Randy Orton in the ring?
So I didn't know if he was asking about then or now.
Now.
So yeah, I don't know about that. And look, I haven't seen Randy. I haven't asked about Randy. From my job, I should probably text Randy. I have texted Randy, but it was about something totally different. That I will not mention on the air. But look, we've been friends a while. So I don't bring him up. For my job, I have a list of people that I cannot use, and he's on that right now. You know what I mean? And so it's like, okay, I don't have him as a combatant to
he's
write
not one of the
into a
horses
match.
in the stable. Yeah.
I was trying to be nice about it and not calling him a horse in the stable. but
Right.
or
That's
a
what
pawn.
I'll get back to Randy Orton. Casio called Randy Orton a horse.
Jackass.
Time to put the horse out to pasture. That's what it's going to come back as.
That'll come back. Orton out to pasture?
Yeah. Question mark. Stupid DeAngelo dirt sheet riders are going to put that out.
Hey, one time, DeAngelo.
Dog sends Randy Orton to the glue factory.
That's a good one. He said Dominic said he rode an elevator with Jinder Mahal.
Yeah.
And he was a beast. I want to give him the credit. He said they could have gave him a strong run.
Well, now our crew has called Jinder a beast. He's beastly.
He is
that's how all this is going to start.
Like it's.
Thank you, Internet. I know how you're going to twist
Internet.
it. Talk about the line being said over and over when Vince wanted to put something over. You guys got to put it over, right?
Yeah. That's it.
Period.
And look, I think it's period, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what else to say about people. People are in awe about like some of the rules and the Vince-isms, and it's like, have you ever worked for an eccentric billionaire? You know, and the chances are no. You know what I mean? No, you haven't worked that closely with. So sometimes the rules change, and you follow them then. But maybe that's from my home training or my military training or something. But when the guy in charge says to do something, you do it. You know, and so
is that something he says going in, get the line in a bunch, or is he that night going say it again?
He might be doing that. He might be saying that. Or he might have told Michael Cole, hey, I really want to get this across. And so then they're just taking every opportunity to drop it in, you know, and maybe it's overkill, maybe it's not, or maybe it's exactly what you need. And then because we could have been going in a direction with the moniker. Was he the angel? Was he going to be the angel, Sami Zayn, or something? You know what I mean? Who knows what things were in his mind when he would say, let's call him this. And he may not tell you why right then. You know what I mean? And you go like, oh crap, I get it now. So I mean, it's just never ceases to amaze me how it amazes people that bosses have rules and you follow them. Like that to me, like, makes me go, wait, what? Where do you people work? Like, you all do you work for yourselves? And nobody ever told you what to do.
Yeah, that's how bosses work. They tell you what to do, and you do it.
And you do it.
If you'd like your check, you will do what I tell you to do.
Yeah, or you don't.
Yeah.
And you get,
it's reported at that time that Jim Johnston is no longer with the WWE. Do you know what happened here? What would you like to say about what do you remember at this time?
So I do not remember anything about the separation. I remember hearing about it, of course, but I don't know of any inside scoop that I could give you. Look, I love Jim. Jim was a hell of an musician, but also a hell of a music producer. And so I thought he was special, and I still think he's special to this day. And I think everybody does. I just don't know what went down from a business standpoint. And I can only imagine when an artist or a performer feels they own something they created and the other person says I didn't. And I don't know that this happened, but it happens every day with record companies and bands, and you know what I mean? Like, no, you can't have that. That's mine. Well, we have to have that because it's our intellectual property, or you know what I mean? And so I can only imagine what went down. And like I said, it's happened with every band that you can think of. You know what I mean? Where they didn't get the right whatever, and they fired their management, and you know what I mean? Or whatever. And so something happened and he got let go. and I don't know what it was, but he was a great musician, a great music producer.
Did you just hit us with some Mercy Me right in the middle of that?
I
can only imagine.
Oh yes, I did. By the way, yeah. I didn't know who sang it.
Let's talk about this. And by the way, I encourage everybody. The music and wrestling episode we did back in the archives.
Oh yeah.
We talked about Jim Johnston. We talked about his legacy and how important he was to not only, hey, we're making music, but that music created moments, created characters, got people over.
He wrote, the only thing I did on With My Baby Tonight was sing it. I told him, we had some meetings, we talked, I sang for him, you know what I mean? We talked, what kind of music you listen to, what are you doing? And I told him I just had a baby. My middle daughter, Amberly, was just born. And I said, so my baby was just born. And man, I just love being with her. You know what I mean? And he literally wrote the song from that and made it a love song instead of the baby. And played every instrument for it too. And so I mean, like he's an incredible guy. I'm sure it was just business came in between relationships, It does sometimes.
It's that time of year, boys and girls. Can you believe it? I know I can't. I know what you're thinking. This is going to be expensive. How am I going to pay for all this? Have you seen the economy lately? Can we put Christmas on pause? You can't. It's going to be here sooner rather than you think. And I'm here to help at SaveWithConrad.com. How's this for starters? No house payments for 2 months. You don't have to make a payment in December. You're done until January. And come January, you're going to have a happier new year. Because it'll be with no credit card debt. It'll be with lower monthly payments. We can knock out your car payment. We can get rid of your second mortgage. We can pay off all your credit cards. We can get you the cash you need to turn your house into your dream home. And do it with no money out of pocket. Don't get stressed out about the holidays. Just go to SaveWithConrad.com right now. You don't need perfect credit. You don't need money out of your pocket. It just takes a few minutes to get started. NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. Serious business. Get a lower monthly payment. Make this the best Christmas ever. Skip your next 2 house payments at SaveWithConrad.com.
Back on the timeline, Tribute to the Troops is taped the morning of SmackDown.
Yes.
How special is this show to you, Dog?
It's so special. Look at that picture right there. If you're not looking,
Incredible.
it's a wrestling ring with Randy Orton. I think that's Randy up in the it's Randy up in the corner doing his Randy Orton pose with a battleship behind him with an American flag draping down the battleship. Now look, maybe I'm old school and patriotic, and not maybe, damn right I am. That's friggin' cool right there to me. That's really cool, and so. It's just a cool show to me to be there or on the bases around the military, around that environment. It feels good there for me personally. And it's an opportunity to give something back. And look, this was Bradshaw's idea how many years ago to do this show, Tribute to the Troops. That was Bradshaw's idea. And so people, credit Pat Patterson with the Royal Rumble. Tribute to the Troops is Bradshaw's credit. And I think it's a great thing. You know what I mean? I think it's awesome that we show them some special attention because so often those guys go and serve and never, they get missed and loved by their family, but not by the country that they're protecting or that they're sent to serve. And so very cool moment for us to give back as a company to the guys that I relate to the most in the world,
I would imagine seeing the guys and the gals in the locker room also realizing how much of a cool moment. I mean, you talk to comedians that go over and perform for the troops. It's got to be the same. It's one of their biggest moments. It's one of their most exciting and grateful things that they get to give back to their country.
It feels like for not the first time, but it feels like what you're doing out there means something right now. You know what I mean? And so it gives you that extra pep in your step. And look, it was in the morning and it was cold and it was in San Diego and it was, you know what I mean? And so we were outside. Those guys were outside wrestling on a tarmac, next to a battleship and stuff. So it was super cool moment for me personally. Super cool for the guys and girls too, but we literally had to go do it that morning and then drive back another hour and a half or something to San Diego. It was outside of San Diego to San Diego to do SmackDown. So that's it really is sacrifice of the boys and the production crew a little bit for one day. We give back for the sacrifice that they do 365 days a year.
Notes from the December 5th SmackDown in San Diego. The show opened with Owens and Zayn out. Owens said that they were the victims of a McMahon family vendetta and the McMahons will stop at nothing to get their pound of flesh. He noted that the McMahons tried to destroy Daniel Bryan, Bret Hart, and Steve Austin, and then said how he and Zayn are better than all of them combined.
Let's stop right there for a second. How come? How come the world didn't fall in on him when he said it?
But he also knows it's going to get heat. That's why he said it, too. He also knows.
So
all of them combined, son.
I'm sorry. You go ahead.
Why didn't the world fall in on him? They talked about how Orton had been handed everything while they have to scratch and claw for everything they've ever gotten. He said Shane McMahon tried to get Orton to do his dirty work because he can't, but last week his plan failed. Zayn talked about how last week he didn't violate the rules of the match because when he attacked Orton, it was on the stage, and noted that it isn't ringside where he was banned. While Zayn was on the floor showing the line between ringside and non-ringside, Orton hit the ring and gave Owens an RKO out of nowhere. Shane came out and said that on the pay-per-view it would be Owens and Zayn versus Orton and a partner of his choosing, and that on this show it would be Zayn versus Orton and Owens handcuffed to the ropes. Owens was laid out from the RKO and didn't hear any of this. Zayn told him, and Owens said he was going to talk to Bryan about fixing this. Dog, this seemed like a fun story to be able to put together.
It is fun. And look, some of them, and you can tell when the ones are fun to write, they kind of dominate the show. And you can tell this one was, this is the first segment and everybody's getting RKO'd and, it's fun. It is fun, but it's also really good. You know what I mean? It's not just like I'm having fun doing it and that's cool. It's good TV too. You know what I mean? And so it's great storytelling. Again, it's the dynamic, not only between Sami and Kevin, two real life best friends, but between Daniel and Shane, two dare I say, adversaries, but kind of sharing authority positions. And so it's great television, man. It's Yellowstone, it's Game of Thrones, it's all of the above. It's building characters and telling stories. And that's why I always say wrestling, not a dime in it. But you start telling me these stories and getting me involved, now you got me. Now the wrestling means something. But without it, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It's just some dudes half naked touching each other. I don't know about you, but that ain't my cup of tea.
English started singing a song, The 12 Days of Rusev. He got to the second verse. If he sang any longer, the crowd would have ended up cheering him. Rusev got a big pop holding up a Rusev Day t-shirt. The New Day interrupted swinging and were passing out gigantic pancakes to the crowd. English and Rusev beat Big E and Kingston in 9 minutes and 24 seconds. Whoa. Kingston did a crazy dive on English. Kingston tried a springboard move, but Rusev tripped him. Rusev then kicked Kingston in the head for the pin. Oh. Did anybody see Rusev Day getting over like he did, and was Vince a fan of it?
So, it's yes, we saw it. Yes, we saw. Okay. We saw Rusev Day getting over. I honestly don't know what happened to Rusev Day. One day we were pushing it, and the next day we weren't. And I honestly, when I say we weren't pushing it, it didn't go away. It didn't just disappear. We just weren't doing anything with it anymore. And it's every time I would pitch something, it would get shot down. So I don't know what happened. And I'm not going to say anything because last time I said something, I got a phone call, and I'm not going to have that happen again. But honestly, I don't know what went down that all of a sudden we stopped running with it, because it was going really well. And I think it was getting over. And I don't know if Vince was a fan of Aiden English.
Okay.
I feel comfortable saying that. I don't know if he was a fan of Aiden English.
Well, singer to singer, how good of his singing was.
Yeah, no, he's a great singer. He's a great wrestler. He's not a beautiful man, but neither am I.
Way.
You know what I mean? He's not. Well, look, his body looks like everybody else's. Yeah. He's not tan, and he looks like me or whatever. You know what I mean? Like he looks different, and that's not. I don't mean nothing bad by that. You can't say nothing nowadays without having to qualify it with everything. God darn, the dude's not good looking. What do you want me to say?
I'm ugly, you're ugly, he's ugly. Yeah. Let's go. Let's move on.
We're through the 3MB.
Three ugly amigos.
Yeah, ugly amigos. We're the three ugly.
But good-looking dudes here. Corbin and Rude were face-to-face. Yeah. Both were mad that Ziggler was added to their pay-per-view match because it lowered their odds of winning by 1/3. Ziggler showed up and said that he was two-time WWE champion, and when he won Money in the Bank, he cashed it in successfully, and their odds of winning both dropped to 0. Here's the interesting part. No babyface in this scenario, though, dog. Did it need it?
Just Smiz Just Smiz
heels all around.
Just healing. Yeah, no, it probably wasn't ideal, but we were probably about to turn somebody or something. I don't remember what was going on exactly.
Nakamura will
I bet it was a great match.
Oh, if they're involved, we're in. We're good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Maybe that was the storyline. Let's get a good match.
Let's have a great match.
Let's throw them dudes on. They can have one. Nakamura will end up being the partner of Orton against Zayn and Owens when he saves him from a beatdown. Orton pinned Zayn in 11:29. They handcuffed Owens to the ropes. This was a good match. Owens got bolt cutters, and while it took some time to do it, he used them to break the handcuffs. So even with Owens free, Zayn went for a hell of a kick, missed, hit the buckles, and Orton pinned him with a schoolboy. Post-match saw Owens and Zayn beating down on Orton until Nakamura made the save. Then Nakamura hit the Kinshasa on Zayn. Kinshasa.
I don't know what it's called either.
Does that mean the ending?
Yeah, it means it means the ending if you're in a match with him. I can tell you that much.
With them destroyed, they cut to Shane and Bryan backstage. Bryan said that now they've been destroyed, Shane can be done punishing them. Shane said he was only getting started as he was going to be the referee. And
what I wrote in there for him to say originally was Daniel was going to walk up in his face and say, now surely you're gonna. He's like, oh, we've only just begun, and then they kiss. But he didn't want to do that. Daniel didn't want to do that.
He changed it a little, tweaked it a little bit.
He said, I'm gonna tweak it when we go live. I said, all right, I trust you.
The match, he was going to be the ref of the match at Clash of Champions and gave the steps of the match while Bryan didn't look happy at all about this. Guess he was hoping for the kiss. See,
ain't we making it better already?
Can I tell you this?
Yeah.
I got a question actually about the match, but just me personally, my most anxious moments watching wrestling is when somebody has to get handcuffs off.
Oh, yeah.
The key doesn't work ever.
Yeah.
By the way,
Yeah.
nobody ever gets the key to work.
Yeah.
Nobody ever gets the bolts cutters to work.
If
I was a wrestler in a storyline, I would say you're never putting those on me because
it is the bane of existence, and we rehearse it. And look, every time you do a cage match and they get the referee has to bolt, we rehearse all that 100 times, and it's just something about live TV and whatever that dude's law is, whatever
Newton's.
That. Yeah.
Kinshasha's law is
handcuffs.
The key ain't gonna work.
Cooperate.
The door ain't gonna open.
Don't work with kids, animals, or handcuffs.
Yes. The dissension here between Shane and Bryan is so good, and like you said, there's a little bit of element of real life that made it better.
Yeah, 100%. Always does.
Yeah. WWE heads to the India tour with Hunter taking on Jinder on top.
Oh.
Triple H pinned him with 2 pedigrees and is pushed as the biggest match ever to take place in India. Do you remember talking to them about the match?
I don't.
Okay. Were you surprised that Hunter beat him?
No. We knew what was going on. We knew everything that was going on. So, but that was it's one of those things where sometimes you're in a meeting where stuff is decided and sometimes you aren't. And sometimes you go, here's what we're doing today. And even if you're the lead writer of a show, you might hear that. And those are big money decisions that they didn't need to hear my input on. You know what I mean? It was above my pay grade by design. And so sometimes you just hear what's going to happen, even as the lead writer of the show, because a business decision has been made by the people who make those decisions. I was never officially in that position.
Okay.
So this was laid on me, but it was, when you hear it and it's all laid out and this is why we're doing it, this is what we plan on doing, that's awesome. Let's go. You know what I mean? You just got us to the next 6 months. So let's do whatever we got to do, and so it's, it is what it is. But look, it was a huge match.
Here's the deal. Some people were surprised that Hunter beat him. Me personally, as a fan, I am not, because I know this. If you're wrestling Triple H in your hometown, you're getting pedigreed a bunch and you're going down. I know that for a fact. But I guess people were surprised that he went over.
Yeah, I mean, I think, especially in India.
No, believe me, we wanted to see Jinder win, but we knew it wasn't going to happen.
We just knew better. I think that's another thing. It's sometimes you wrestle in your hometown and you lose. You know what I mean? And he had to work on his birthday. Oh, he had to do that. Like, oh my God. Sometimes you work on your kid's birthday, like the day of his birth. You know what I mean? like that's the way it works. Sometimes you're in Chicago for Christmas and your family's in Florida. So that's just the way the ball bounces.
Notes from the 12-12 SmackDown tapings in Cincinnati. This was the go-home show for Clash of Champions. The show drew 5,000 fans. The show opened with Owens and Zayn passing out leaflets, organizing an Occupy SmackDown and the Yep movement. That's pretty great. To end the tyranny of Shane McMahon, Shane did not appear on the show because this show couldn't have worked if he was there. You guys are leaning right into this,
just leaning into it all. Stop the tyranny.
We're going to Occupy SmackDown, my man.
We leaned right in, and it worked. It was good. Yes. It was good TV. You know what I mean? I haven't thought about that leaflet.
The Yep movement. So good. Just downplaying it to Yep, by the way.
Yeah, I love it.
During Hunter and Jinder's match in India, the Singhs are in Jinder's corner. Now the week before, Singh had fired them, And Styles showed that on screen when the Singhs told him they wanted to help avenge what happened. Styles told them they don't trust them and beat them up. This is a good little way to keep that story going as well, right, dog?
Yeah, for sure. And to keep them out of there.
Bryan was on the phone with Shane. Zayn and Owens came in, both wearing Yep t-shirts, like Bryan's old Yes t-shirts. They left Bryan with a handbill about the Occupy SmackDown movement and protesting the tyranny of Shane. What a great opportunity for merchandise as well, right, dog?
Yeah. Look at all of the stuff around this time and some of that time frame, like the hemp title that we made for Daniel Bryan. Like Vince let us have some really good times, and this is apparent of that. You know what I mean? Like you go, Vince does this, Vince did that. He was the boss still when all this great stuff was going on. Yeah. You know what I mean? I almost said a bad word, but all this great stuff was going on. And so, I think people just got to get over themselves.
By the way, speaking of great merchandise, I don't know if you've seen, dog, we have now dropped the Dapper Dog t-shirt, my friend. Dog. Look at that thing. Dapper Dog t-shirt, baby, available at boxofgimmicks.com.
Hey, the truth be told, I'd like one of them.
We'll get you a promo code.
Is it, could I pay, how much is it?
If you use promo code DOGG, I think you get a percent off. But
okay.
I
don't even think I can forget that one either.
Yeah, the old Dapper Dog deal.
Dapper Dog. And what that is, guys, for those of you who couldn't see it, it's like a can of Dapper Dan or FOP hair gel.
FOP!
Yeah, and it comes from the movie, or it's originated from the movie, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And so we got to talking about that one day, and we came up with the Dapper Dog t-shirt idea.
Looks so good.
So
Great
it
job.
does. It's a good looking color. It's a good looking shirt. It's funny. I don't know if I get the money or who gets the money, but it's a funny shirt. Like whatever,
Go to boxofgimmicks.com.
Boxofgimmicks.com.
They aired a clip which announced that the Fashion Files, by the way, you'll be in the Fashion Files.
Just Box of Gimmicks is what's under my bed, but boxofgimmicks.com is something different.
But you wear that Dapper Dog t-shirt, you're going to be on the Fashion Files, my man.
Oh, yeah. Yes, you will, in a good way, too.
And they've announced that Fashion Files is moving from SmackDown to the website. They've also announced that the Fashion Police versus Bludgeon Brothers for the pay-per-view was this correct time for moving on from the Fashion Files.
I don't think so.
Okay.
But it didn't matter. Because guess what? We moved on.
All right.
And it was not like an argument or anything. We were happy that he was still going to allow us to do it on a WWE property because we had a great time doing it. And sometimes it led into stories, and sometimes it didn't. You know what I mean? Sometimes it was just for some comic relief, a little let me up in a serious wrestling show. So it might have been, it might have been fizzling out, but I thought we were really creative with how we wrote that. And by the way, none of that was me. That was my co-writer, Steve Guerreri, wrote all of the Fashion Files stuff with other people collaborating with him. But he was a huge fan of the show Twin Peaks. We talked about that, and I could never think of the thing. Huge fan, so he knew all about it. And so when we started writing that stuff, even E! Entertainment commented on us on WWE copying and kind of kept taking the piss out of Twin Peaks and having like it was getting over with I guess with smarter people than just wrestling fans. Right. And like other people were recognizing it from pop culture. And so it was kind of cool that we got to do it as long as we did. And once it got moved to digital, everybody kind of just lost faith. You know what I mean? And I mean everybody, talent included. It was just kind of like, yeah, whatever.
I think I still have a ticket book where they wrote the violations. I believe I have a ticket book.
You might.
I think I do.
Might. They wrote out fashion violations.
I think it's at my desk at my radio station. I'm going to have to send a picture.
Hey, I also love them when they came down to NXT after, and we started using them as different. They were different every time. And this is. I don't remember one time they were doctors. One time they were astronauts. One time they were lifeguards. You know what I mean?
Just fun guys. I imagine they're up for everything, right?
Really, really fun guys that are up for everything and just go like, yeah, let's do it, man. You know what I mean? And it's so fun to be around those guys.
Owens and Zayn came out and talked about the Yep movement. Owens said, if you think Stephanie and Vince were bad, Shane was the worst of all the McMahons. He protested Shane being the ref, saying he had been biased and that their jobs were at stake. He then called out everyone to come to the ring with them and stand together to protest Shane. Nobody came out. Finally, Bryan came out. Owens said the Yep movement was a tribute to Bryan. Owens said that he and Zayn had been degraded by the McMahons just like he was. They were treated unfairly just like he was and treated like they don't even belong just like he was. Bryan said that they were nothing like him. He said that he and Shane have an agreement and that they each have each other's back. But he said that he realizes that Owens and Zayn are incredibly talented, so he will make sure that their match was fair and you can prove if you belong, because if you lose, you'll have no excuses because he will be the second referee. The storyline here is that he did this without asking Shane. When he said he would ref, there were some cheers, but it was not overwhelming, says the Observer. This is some high, complex storytelling, dog. Was this?
Yeah.
This has got to be a highlight of one of your runs as a writer.
For me, 100%. Like I look, and if you think back about the match, and I'd suggest you all go back and watch that one, where they were the two refs, and it was incredible, and the dynamic between the two, and the emotions and the soap opera of it all. It's pro wrestling at its finest, man, and it was so fun to do, and it came from such a real, genuine place. That's why it related to people. But to your point, it is intricate storytelling, and it is kind of hard to follow that storytelling when you're in a crowd in a live event. And I know people would argue that, but I disagree. You're in the mob with the mob mentality, and he says something, and you go like, yeah, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what he said. He's going to be a referee too? Okay, cool, whatever. Get him out here. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I just hate that they always nitpick,
Yeah.
It's just like, it's basically just like, hey, Road Dogg, this is all really good, but you're still a dick.
Rusev,
if I am, I get it. I'm sorry.
Rusev and English were out. English started singing Rusev Day to the tune of the 12 Days of Christmas. Gable and Benjamin came out to interrupt. They were trying to play heel. Gable trying to play heel came across so bad. I guess it coming across fake isn't the worst thing for a heel, but it was the worst level of WWE talking. Woo! Was Gable just not good at playing heel? Was it a learning curve?
No, none of that's true. This guy
What's true?
I don't know. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. That's what's true. No, I don't know. I don't remember that. I mean, I don't remember. Sometimes, I don't know, man. I don't watch it and nitpick like this. I don't. Because if I'm nitpicking like this, I ain't watching. And so if I nitpick, like I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just different mindsets, I guess. Like they didn't pop for this. They didn't do it for that. Like, but it's all great storytelling. So why say that?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have a great morning, but should I tell you all about it? You know what I mean? Like, what? So,
I would appreciate it going
yeah, just to make yourself feel better. You know what I mean?
I'd be like, awesome, thank you.
Yes, I'm not crazy.
English and Rusev beat Usos in a I can't wait to get your take on that. English and Rusev beat Usos in a non-title match in 4 minutes and 14 seconds when Rusev hit Jay with a sidekick and English pinned Jay after a neck breaker. New Day did commentary for this match. It's results like that having no meaning why belts mean nothing here. Dog? Why do you think them losing a non-title match means that the belts are poop?
Well, that's the mentality of today. Is all the wrestling fans of today think, well, you can't just beat so the guys can never get beat? Like, right. How do you book them? How do you book them 300 days a year because they got to do live events too. So you're doing 300, 290, 300 days a year. How do you book the guys that can't be beat ever? Like, how do you ever tell a story? Because that's exactly what we ran into with the Bludgeon Brothers, was how do you physically beat them? Like, they're big, huge guys with hammers and stuff. Like, what do you do to them? It was like, okay, so we gotta do something. We gotta get rid of them somehow. We gotta get the titles off of them. But it's just nobody who says that has ever written a live show every week for 10 years. Nobody who says that has ever done that, because you will come to a point where those little rules that are made up to begin with, because wrestling's not real, hamstring you. And to create, you have to go outside of the parameters of that. And so, look, sometimes they lose a non-title match. It's because the team didn't warrant a title match, but now they got beat by them. Now maybe they do. Hey, we own a victory over you. Now that's an argument for we should get a shot at your titles. Like, to me, that's a very legitimate storytelling beat. You know what I mean? And so, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a friggin' idiot, and I'll buy that if that's the answer. I'm a friggin' idiot. Like, I get it. But at the same time, it makes perfect sense to me to have a team beat the tag champs in a non-title match, and now they got a gripe, and it's kind of legitimate. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, they did beat them. Like, they did. So I don't know. Different strokes for different folks, man.
Nakamura and Orton came out for an interview. Fans were chanting for Nakamura. Orton said he doesn't like Zayn and Owens, saying they were obnoxious and self-titled, and that he and Nakamura would do everyone a favor by costing those two idiots their jobs. Dog, Nakamura always comes off as a star. We knew that coming in when he came to WWE.
Yeah.
Why do you think so far he's never gotten a shot at the world title? Does he not need it?
So I for one, think he doesn't need it now, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We're past. If he was going to need it, it would have been around this time. You know what I mean? Or shortly thereafter. But I think the domestically, the language barrier is a hindrance. And I for one have always been a fan of speak Japanese and let's subtitle it, because I've seen movies that way on Delta Airlines. You know what I mean?
Right.
I've seen shows that way in other countries and or even in America. So I don't know. But I do think that, you know, that guy needs to be able to go out there and hold and cut a promo set and hold a segment for a promo. And so I think that it didn't hinder him in my eyes, because I would have totally had the subtitle thing going on. But maybe that's why he never got an opportunity. Hey, look, he won the Intercontinental title, the U.S. title. I don't know if he's had tag titles, but he's won a lot of championships here. Yeah. He just didn't win the one. You know what I mean? Or I guess the two now.
Well, that hinders athletes in other sports as well. You see some of the stars that can't speak English. Yeah. People don't recognize how good they are as much. Some people,
well, especially
some people, like you said, it doesn't matter. Yeah, that's what I mean. In the U.S.
Yeah, in their country,
superstars,
huge stars, and no big deal. You know, Bollywood stars in India are as famous or more rich than stars we have in America. Yeah. I ain't never heard of them, but they're huge over there. You know what I mean? And so I think language is just that. It's just language. He speaks a different language, so put it on there where I understand it, and I'm fine with that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But I don't know how you go back and forth. It would get difficulty during dialogue, and I get it.
Owens pinned Nakamura 14 minutes and 31 seconds. Bryan was doing commentary. It ended up in an argument with Saxton. Graves is totally making fun of how Bryan was destroying Saxton. Saxton's role here was to say Bryan was going to be biased for Owens and Zayn. Graves kept saying that Shane has already shown he hates them, and Saxton started talking about how he says what his boss tells him to say, which made him out to be the heel when he is supposed to be a face.
Yeah.
The whole thing was preposterous. Bryan talked about how when he had a detached retina, that Owens tried to gouge his eyes out in front of 300 fans. Saxton then started talking about how that doesn't count, while Bryan said it happened to him, so it does count. Saxton was about how unless it's in the WWE, it doesn't count, and Bryan said, yeah.
That's Vince.
Bryan said that his brain hasn't erased all of this from his memory before he was in WWE, so it does count.
I guarantee you, Bryan knew it, and I love this because I'm watching the show from a different perspective. I'm not listening to them. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, this is totally Vince feeding Byron Saxton and Daniel Bryan knowing it. And
Which is the beauty of it.
That
right?
is the beauty. Well, the inner beauty. You know what I mean? Like everybody else just gets pissed and goes, Brian Saxton's such a jackass. He's just, and it's like, okay, calm down, guys. For me, it was hilarious because that's exactly what happened.
They were having a good match when Owens ran over the referee. Nakamura had Owens pinned, but no ref. Bryan then took the ref shirt off the ref and got in the ring and was slow to get in position to count, and Owens kicked out. So the idea is we were supposed to question whether his getting into position was slow on purpose or not.
Or was it inadvertent?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Then Zayn poked Orton in the eyes and threw him into the post. Nakamura
A lot of ocular cavity talk.
A lot of eye stuff here.
Yeah.
Nakamura knocked Zayn off the apron, and Owens hit the pop-up powerbomb on Nakamura, and Bryan counted the pin. Owens tried to get the crowd to chant, "Yep, yep, yep," in celebration. Some did. Saxton went off on how Bryan was in Owens and Zayn's pocket. This was way out of protocol, but like you mentioned, you knowing behind the scenes, this was Vince orchestrating all this, right?
Yeah. And that, look, to me, that's not harmful at all. That's fun. You know what I mean? That, to me, that's funny and fun to know that he was pulling Daniel's strings, having Byron say that stuff like, oh, but before WWE, that doesn't matter. You know what I mean? That's classic. To me, it
Nothing
is anyway.
existed outside of our universe, right?
Nothing. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's the first time they've ever wrestled when they show up there. Everything.
Yeah, I love it.
How stressful is a pay-per-view, now premium live event, but then how stressful is pay-per-view show day for you personally? What's different for you personally?
So I'm going to be honest with you. In preparation for those is the weeks prior. You're prepared for that day. That day to me is about execution, and so it's very important to rehearse anything intricate or talk about finishes, and if we need to walk through with cameras or you know what I mean. There's a lot of things that go into it. So just preparation, man. Just preparation, and like I said, you are prepared as you can be once you get to that day, as far as where your head's at about each story, and so then you can. Kind of create a vision or orchestrate a vision in your head of how finishes should go down and how it should be shot and how, all of that stuff is maybe outside of the purview of the lead writer of a show, but it's the kind of stuff I thought about every day, all day, and still do to this day. So I loved it. It was no stress on a pay-per-view day. That was payoff day to me. That was the culmination of what we've been working so hard on. And so it was a breath of fresh air at the end of that night. But we got another one in 4 weeks. So we start again on Tuesday. At this time we were shooting on Tuesdays. So we start again on Tuesday. Here we go. But yeah, it was awesome.
Clash of Champions is well received with a, you're going to love this, 44.6% thumbs up from Observer readers. And get this, Meltzer thinks it was largely good. Dog.
Well, see, that's but what he doesn't realize is his jaded perception of our entertainment business has caused his followers to be so jaded they don't even agree with him.
Right.
44% said it was good.
When he said it was largely good.
He said it was largely good. That sounds like 75% to me. So you
Sounds
know what I'm
like
saying?
Definitely a majority.
So I'm trying to get him to recognize you're so negative about it all the time that there's a negative vibe out there, and they didn't even say it was good because of you.
Yeah.
You know
they
what I
start
mean?
viewing it in his eyes.
And taking his vision, his perception of things as gospel. And that's taking all the fun out of your ride. You know what I mean? Like, don't go down his razor blade water slide. Go down mine that's crystal clear as glass with warm water flowing down it. And guess where you get to splash into the big pool of wrestlers at the end, with all the wrestlers are naked and
I imagine
wrestling.
gravy. I did not see wrestlers at the bottom of that pool.
I didn't either at first.
I saw gravy.
But they were wrestling naked in the gravy.
Okay, I'll give you that. We can add on to it, but gravy's
It's not
involved.
sexual at all. I'm just fat.
No. Here's the quote from Meltzer. Quote, I thought the show was largely good. Only one match was great. And as far as interest went, it felt like a one-match show.
It kind of was. And so I don't disagree with that. But he said it was largely good.
Good.
I mean, he's, bless his heart, he's human. He's a hypocrite.
He seems to think the show was built around Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus Randy Orton and Shinsuke.
Yeah, it kind of was.
Where Owens and Zayn had to win or they would be fired. Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan were both referees. It was really the stipulations and the referees, not the participants, that were the key to the interest.
Yeah. Well, I just think that's looking at it. It's a different way to look at it for sure.
But I think it also leans to your point of, if the story's not good, we don't care. And we told the story to get us to hear, to pay attention.
The story was about all of them. You know what
Isn't
I mean?
Isn't that a good story where it doesn't matter who's in the ring? We got us there, and now we're interested.
I think it was a great story with a good guy and a bad guy, and then there's some gray guys in there that are I don't know whether they're good guys or bad guys. Like, it was great storytelling, and to have to dig through the goodness to find a turd. Man, you're just trying to get crap on your hands. You know what I mean? You're just trying to find doo-doo. And
like the smell of Duke.
Yeah, and good for you, man. Dig away. But don't go wash your hands before you come here. Yeah, don't put that crap on me.
He says, as far as the match went, the participants were clearly playing second fiddle and just providing background vocals for the lead singers, McMahon and Bryan. Everyone expected that Bryan would count Orton or Nakamura's shoulders down, allowing Owens and Zayn to stay with the company, and that's what happens. But it was done in a compelling fashion. Woo!
Right, in the same sentence as, you know what I mean? A minute ago, it was horrible. Now we're like in great, and it's not just hypocrisy. It's like it's flip-flopping. Now he's just flip-flopping.
When
he's
you
like
have
Mitt Romney.
When you have a complicated match and a finish to put together, who is the producer that you leaned on the most?
Michael Hayes.
Okay.
Yeah, Michael Hayes is the man. Michael Hayes got so much knowledge, so much vision in his head about what we do, about this industry. You can think anything you want to about him, but you can't take away the knowledge he has inside of his head, man. And I always lean on him. I leaned on him a great deal when I was the lead writer. I lean on him to this day because I do the job now that he used to do. And so I lean on him to this day, man. He's a resource. He is a valuable resource in the wrestling industry. And that's a fact.
So much knowledge and so much extra material in his sleeves and his pants legs.
Oh, yeah. Cocaine.
He loves them suits, baby.
Oh, sorry. I'm just kidding.
The show drew 11,000 fans. That has to be something you're pretty happy about at the time, right?
Happy as a pig in poop. And this may be, and I don't know, somebody could do some research. This may be around the time we beat Raw one time in the ratings. And we only did it once, and it's not anything to cheer about really because it was very uncommon then. But for me personally, it made me happy as a pig in poop because we beat them. We beat the flagship show with our storytelling. You know what I mean? But this was also a time where we were kind of getting to do anything we wanted to do. And it was the Wild West a little bit on SmackDown for a little while.
December 28th will mark the 25th anniversary of Starrcade 97, the culmination of a year-long build where Sting would finally step back in the ring to face Hollywood Hulk Hogan for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. The stage was set for a main event to become immortalized in wrestling history, and it did, but for all the wrong reasons.
And for the first time in over 20 years, on that 25th anniversary, Eric Bischoff and Nick Patrick will reunite to watch back and discuss what really happened that night at the MCI Center in Washington, D.C. Hosted by Conrad Thompson, a topic that led to one of the most heated exchanges in the history of 83 weeks.
And now you're going to act like it's ludicrous that we might think that that's what happened here when you managed to fuck up the single biggest moment in the history of wrestling, and now 20 years later you get on here and lie through your fucking teeth and say it's because he wasn't tan?
I'm not lying through my teeth.
I'm finished over a tan. Is this real?
Ad-Free Shows presents a premium watch-along event, The Fast Count, with Eric Bischoff and Nick Patrick, December 28th, 10 p.m. Eastern, immediately following AEW Dynamite. All $29 level members and higher are invited to join, and Top Guy members will be able to ask Eric and Nick questions about this controversial night in wrestling. No spray tan necessary. Sign up today and reserve your spot at adfreeshows.com.
All right, let's actually break these matches down. Here we go. Number one match.
Break it down.
Mojo Rawley pinned Zack Ryder in 7 minutes and 9 seconds. This was better than most pre-show matches due to Rawley's aggression. He dominated most of the match and taunted Ryder about not having a killer instinct. Rawley won with a running punch. The most notable thing about this match was a promo Rawley did on the WWE website for it, which was the best promo he's done in his life. I agree with that. It was a spectacular promo.
Yeah. And that's him. You know what I mean? That's who he is. That's why there's something very attractive about that dude. We might have missed an opportunity with that dude.
Had it been on television, it would have been among the best promos in months. It was another example of how there are guys on the roster who would probably be good and great promos if they weren't scripted and forced to use all the contrived buzzwords. 2 3/4 stars. What do you think about that assessment, Dog? Less scripting, more flexibility, a good thing?
I think it would be a good thing, but I think how it was he had to trust that you could go out there and do it. Mojo Rawley was an untested, source. Vince would have never heard him cut a promo. Probably to this day hasn't heard that promo, and rightfully so. He's a friggin' CEO of a Fortune 500 company. He doesn't have time to watch everything on its website. You know what I mean? So that's why he hires people to do his website for him. But like, it was great. And so the debate forever will be to script or not to script. And I don't think there's a black and white answer. I don't think there's a clear cut answer, because it depends on every single talent, and you would have to judge them by every single promo they've ever done. And look, sometimes you hit a home run with some, and sometimes you strike out. And so it's do I trust this guy to cut his own promo and get the message that I want across to tell the story I'm telling? Or do I need to script it out for him? And we didn't know that about Mojo at the time. Now, having said that, I'm sure people in the writing team saw this thing. Somebody was there that shot it with him and said, "Holy crap, this promo was awesome!" And somebody should have showed it to Vince. Maybe it's me. Somebody should have showed it to Vince and said, "Hey, look at this kid. This is what this kid can offer." And maybe that falls on me. I said it before. Maybe we could have done more with them. And I don't run from any responsibility of that. It's just happened, and I can't get it back now. You know what I mean? And I've learned from the past, and if I had it to do over again, I'd do it differently. I'd do a lot of things differently.
I remember personally that did not see it, of course, right when it dropped, but everyone that's a wrestling fan starts sending this thing around going, "You have got to see this Mojo promo. It is off the charts." He was believable. He looked menacing. Yeah. It was amazing. It was a great promo. Yeah. It was amazing. Yeah.
We should put a link to it up somehow.
Okay,
I don't know how to do that. I'm just talking out my yin yang.
By the way, for the record,
let's get moving. I'm tired.
By the way, for the record, you guys beat Raw Christmas that year. After this. So just after this.
That's not even fair.
They were
on Christmas Day. No wonder we beat them.
Raw had a 169, SmackDown a 176. Nicely done. Put it on the board.
When we first started going, them twos were in there. We were up in them twos.
Next up, Dolph Ziggler won a 3-way to win the U.S. title over champion Baron Corbin and Bobby Roode in 12 minutes and 5 seconds. This was a well-placed, good match that the crowd gets into. There was a series of big moves, including Ziggler with a famouser on Roode, but Corbin saved Roode. I'm gonna take a running jump at this word. Okay. Roode did Uranage.
Yeah, you did it.
Okay. He does that mean finish in
No, you're
in
not.
Ukraine?
It's when the people run in like to hit you in the turnbuckle, but you catch them and then go up, and it's Solo Sikoa's finish right now.
Oh, there you go. I got you now. He hit it on Ziggler, but Corbin then gave Rude a deep 6. Corbin missed a charge and went shoulder first into the post. Rude hit the glorious DDT on Ziggler and threw Corbin out of the ring, but Corbin pulled Rude out of the ring. Corbin used a choke slam into a backbreaker on Rude and then set up the end of days on Rude. But Ziggler hit him with the zigzag and got the pin.
Yep.
3.5 stars here. The big surprise was Dolph winning the U.S. title with plus 1,035 odds, according to the gamblers. Buddy, you are a degenerate if you are gambling on wrestling, my friend.
I tell you what, bless your heart. You've got more money than you do brains. That's for dang sure.
The key is not so much his winning, but that the odds were never wavered over the last few days. That either means the decision was last minute or very few were aware of it, because those are gigantic odds to bet on to make easy money. Even with Brock Lesnar versus Undertaker at WrestleMania, which was supposed to be a situation where nobody but 6 people or so were aware of the finish, somehow there was late betting on Lesnar winning. Dog, what did you... This has been a thing over the years regarding betting odds. Do you guys monitor that or track it at all?
I had no idea that ever... Because to me, if you bet on pro wrestling, not only do you need a hobby, but god darn, man, you really need a hobby. And so I never knew it was a thing until a guy from the UK contacted me and said, hey, you got a mole in there that's dropping stuff out, because over here we're betting on it. And I thought, you're betting on what? Like, you're betting on wrestling?
Yeah.
Like, how do you? And so I guess, I don't know. I don't get it, but it's a thing.
After you found out about it, have you ever caught anybody betting on it or leaking or anything?
No, and the thing about finding a stooge is, unless you bust them red-handed, like while they're telling somebody, or somebody comes and says, hey, he just told me this. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way you can prove stuff like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, people got friends and people talk, and it could be got out as an accident. It could have got out on purpose because somebody is paying them to give them information, because then they bet on it. And you know what I mean? So I'm not saying there's not a person in there that gets paid to throw some information out there. I know a lot of people, and White House all the way up to the White House, feed people information anyway, by you know what I mean, as a little bit of a teaser, and you kind of give us a litmus test, like, ooh, people reacted to that, or people didn't give a crap about that, or and so I don't know. I hate that it happens, but it happens, man. I just suggest don't bet on pro wrestling. I don't know.
Usos retain the SmackDown tag titles over Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable, Kofi Kingston and Big E, and Rusev and Aiden English in 12 minutes and 53 seconds. Fans were chanting Rusev Day loudly, and the crowd was really into English singing. When he was done, the crowd was chanting Encore. Benjamin and Gable then interrupted to no reaction. New Day came out last, throwing pancakes into the crowd. Instead of 2 men in the ring, they had 4, 1 from each team, but it was no DQ, so it made no sense why anyone would wait on the apron for a tag and not be involved. Really, the early part there were 2 sets of fights in the ring was too unwieldy and a bad idea. Jay did a dive on E and English. Benjamin jumped to the top and the belly-to-belly superplex on Jimmy, and threw him more than halfway across the ring. Lots of big moves and near falls, and the crowd was hotter for this match by a significant degree compared to everything else on the show. Benjamin,
you mean this crappy match that makes no sense?
Oh, yeah.
The people were hot for it?
The ones that were confusing, and why didn't we do this?
I'll be darned.
By the way, when we get to the end, 4.25 stars out of 5 for the show, the match that made no sense.
The nonsensical fatal 4-way. So are we not the masters of our own destiny? And so if you could, if we're creating this wrestling match and this television show, you could just have the guy who's going to be the owner of Yellowstone Ranch at the end of the show kill everybody at the beginning and own the show. But it sucks that way. So the show sucks now. So my point is, why can we have this wrestling? Why do we have to start out crazy? Why can't we build to that?
Yeah.
Just like in a match, we build to the comeback. Why can't we build to crazy in execution of the match? Why is that illogical and no good? I'd like that explained to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what if I can do whatever I want to, and I can because I'm writing the show, I can say, hey guys, don't go crazy at the beginning because you got nowhere to go then. Start off, and then you'll realize as things heat up, why am I standing on the apron? I can get in there and kick this guy's butt. So right. I just see it differently. You know what I mean? I think there's a different way to look at things other than the way that the what's the paper called? The Observer. Sheet. Yeah, the Observer looks at it. I think they look at it from a very negative slant against the WWE and its writing and thinking. I think that's a fact. I don't think anybody could argue with that. Now, you may agree with their argument and stand on that side, and that makes sense, and I get that, and welcome aboard to the conversation. However, like, he doesn't get to make the rules. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even work in wrestling, dude. Like, you don't get to make the rules about how the matches go. But you do have the right and the platform. Say whatever you want about wrestling. But I just wish you'd be more positive about it. I thought you liked it. Like, it sounds like you hate this crap. And I ain't devoting that much time to anything I don't like.
Watching this in real time, this was kind of the first time we really got to see Rusev get that type of reaction in English to an extent, and they kind of overshadowed everyone else. Yeah. Considering the amount of talent in the ring, that's saying something, right? Saying
something about where Rusev was, for sure. Yeah, Rusev's a talented dude. I look, people complain about him, but he may be injured. I don't know. I ain't seen him on the other show at all. He's been working there for 6 months, like a year now, whatever. So, whatever.
They got a lot of dudes and girls and not a lot of time over there too.
Yeah.
Charlotte Flair retained the women's title over Natalya in a lumberjack match in 10 minutes and 31 seconds. The match was all about the interference. All the lumberjacks but Naomi were heels, with Lana, Tamina, Carmella, Ruby Riott, Sarah Logan, and Liv Morgan. Natalya would throw Charlotte out and all the heels would attack her. Naomi did a springboard plancha at one point on the heels as they were beating up Charlotte. Tamina super kicked Charlotte, leading to a sharpshooter, but the heels then pulled Charlotte out of the ring and put boots to her. Woo! Here we go. Morgan and Lana were having all kinds of problems fighting each other. Luckily, everyone else was brawling, so I think most missed it, but it was bad, says the Observer.
Thanks for pointing that out. Since we missed it.
I love everybody missed it.
Everybody missed it, but let me tell you how horrible it was. Hey, this tastes disgusting. Taste it. Thanks.
Charlotte then went to moonsault from the top rope to the floor on everyone, but actually landed short or they were out of position. Charlotte ended up getting the figure 8 for the submission. Next was a weird promo. Natalya was being interviewed in ring. She said she did nothing wrong, and once again, Charlotte used her family's name to cut corners. She started crying and said how she's carried the women's division for 10 years, but said everyone turned their back on her, so she's turning her back on them, and walked off crying. People thought it was a retirement speech, but that was not the idea. The idea was just to get her to cut a heartfelt, emotional promo. All the interference just killed the match.
I'm sorry.
1.5 stars. What did you think about this, dog?
Well, so we went through this stint where we wanted to get promos, and we were trying stuff, and look, it's okay to try things and figure out if they work, if they don't work, but we were trying things, and so it was pre-match promos, post-match promos. Well, why would you only get a post-match promo from the winner? Why don't you want to hear from the loser? You know what I mean? Okay. It was also a quasi heel turn without having her turn heel on somebody because there was nobody she was close enough to care about enough, So it was also a little bit of her just being a B word and going, I don't like you guys anymore. I'm going to be a bad guy now.
We went over this. Harper and Rowan beat Tyler Breeze and Fandango in a minute 56. Not much to it. Harper and Rowan pinned Fandango after a double crucifix bomb. It was all action. 1 star. Yeah. My favorite is it was all action. 1 star.
Yeah.
But This is exactly how that match is supposed to go.
It was
right?
supposed
We talked
to be,
about that.
yeah, it was supposed to be pure domination. That's exactly what it was. It was supposed to get 1 star.
Yeah.
You moron.
Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn beat Shinsuke Nakamura and Randy Orton in 21 minutes and 34 seconds. It was funny when Shane early in the match lost his earpiece and became frustrated with the whole situation. Shane and Bryan were arguing. Owens yelled at Shane for counting slow. Nakamura hot tagged in and used a flying armbar on Owens. Owens cradled him from there, and Bryan counted the pin. Shane got mad at Bryan for counting, and at one point, Orton crotched Owens on the top rope, and Bryan yelled at him saying, "That's not legal." Owens splashed Nakamura through one of the announcers' tables. Orton hit the draping DDT on Zayn, and by this point, Shane was cheerleading him when Owens hit the RKO on Zayn and knocked into Bryan, who fell on Shane, stopping the count.
Yeah.
Shane freaked out on Bryan for breaking the count. Orton hit an RKO on Owens. Zayn and Orton were trading near falls. Shane then held up his count at 2 when Zayn had Orton beat. Orton went for the RKO on Zayn, who escaped, got the schoolboy, and Bryan counted fast for the win. Even though it was a fast count for the heels and the heels won, most of the crowd was loudly chanting, "Yep, yep, yep, 3.25 stars." This has got to be awesome when chaos breaks out when Shane loses his earpiece. Dog.
Yeah, well, internally it is, of course. You know what I mean? It's really great to see and to see how frustrated he gets about it. But it's not from a professional standpoint. You know what I mean? You're going like, "Oh God, get the earpiece back in." You know what I mean? We got to be able to communicate with you.
The
Especially
story here,
him. You don't want him going rogue.
No. The story here is tremendous, but it feels a little bit like Shane and Bryan are the focus.
Yeah.
But that is the point, correct?
Yeah, what's the point? 100%. And it did not hurt that there was a great wrestling match going on around this great story because the wrestling match was intertwined with the story. You know what I mean? So I think it's all gravy in my mind. I know some people would dig through that and find negativity, but I refuse to. It was really good. Ha.
Final match of the card, AJ Styles retains the WWE title, beating Jinder Mahal in 22 minutes and 56 seconds. There were dueling chants at first, so people were into this at a main event level. Mahal dropped Styles' ribs on the top rope, and most of the match saw Mahal work over the ribs. Styles was on fire in his comeback. He escaped a collar off the ropes and hit a Pele kick, followed by a springboard 450. The Singhs broke up the pin attempt. Styles did a forearm over the top outside the ring on Samir, and then used a Styles clash on the floor on Samir. Mahal hit a running knee and the collar, but Styles kicked out. Since nobody had kicked out of that on this run, Lesnar almost surely would have had the match happened as originally planned. He likes to interject that. It was a good spot. Mahal tried to then beat Styles with his own Styles clash, but Styles escaped and got the calf crusher on, and then pulled him to the center of the ring for a submission. 3.25 stars. It's a big deal to kick out of that finish. I'm sure that's why you put it in there, right?
It's a big deal to get 3.25 stars from Meltzer, too.
By the way, he also said the crowd was into it at a main event level, but it's only 3.25 stars.
Yeah, so I get it. I do get it, actually. Look, I thought it was a great match. I thought it was a way that we could get Jinder his rematch, and it was a main event, you know what I mean? And AJ retained, so.
Was that a focus of yours or the guys who discusses, hey, we're finally going to kick out of somebody's finish?
Oh, well, so that's pretty much the boys, but a lot of times for me, I like to say, no, don't do that. Now here, maybe it, you know, I don't know. I still probably wouldn't have done it because I think it totally bastardizes your finish. And so now the minute somebody kicks out of it, I think they can kick out of it every time now.
Yeah.
So it's not so much your finish anymore. And look, nobody's more guilty of doing that than Cena and Rock. You know what I mean? They kind of made it okay to just hit each other with your finish 6 times, and then all of a sudden the 6th one wins.
There's one of the most mad I've ever been is I interviewed Baron Corbin on my other pod, and he talked about one of the biggest things in his career was nobody ever kicking out of End of Days, and I believe the next pay-per-view or the one right after, somebody kicked out of it, and that was it. Really, it got me hot for no reason.
Well, but that's it then. You know what I mean? That's
right
it now.
Because we all knew nobody had kicked out of it. We knew it was a big deal.
It's his finish.
Yeah, and then that's why you have a finisher. That's why it's called the finisher. Incredible. Also, this is the end of Jinder's push. We talked about, not a specific reason of it ending. Look at that
picture, though. Look at that picture right
Looks
there.
great.
If you can see it, it shows Jinder has AJ in an abdominal stretch. And, man, his body is etched in stone. A big, good-looking Indian man. Man, I don't know what's not to like about pushing. You know what I mean?
AJ is the champion. This is perfect spot for him. He's that guy, right?
Yeah. AJ is. We talked about him up front, man. He's the one. He's the one that is dependable. He's the one that will give you everything every time. He's a go-to guy.
Looking back at it now, after we went over it, especially at the time, what did you think after the show was done? Were you happy how you got to it and how everything paid off?
Yeah, very happy. And look, this was also, and correct me if I'm wrong here because I could be, this was also when we, the blue brand had just kind of separated. We were still young in or I think we were anyway. Dom, you can look that up and tell me when I started writing. But like when we did the draft and we separated and we had the weaker. I thought we had the weaker crew. You know what I mean? But I had some great wrestlers and some great actors. And that's what we built on, you know what I mean? And that's that's how we survived. That's how we beat them one week, you know what I mean? Right. It's incredible acting, and people that you are attracted to. I don't mean that in a weird way. I mean, like I'm attracted to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn because they're good wrestlers and good talkers and funny and you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm attracted to that kind of person. I want to be that person's friend. So I want to watch and see what he does. And I had more of them, I felt like. But fewer great wrestlers. I had AJ. And so I knew that. I knew AJ's the champion. He's the guy. And then you just dress around it with some supporting actors. And here you find out I had AJ, and he wasn't even in the lead role right now. You know what I mean? We're talking about deadgum Bryan and them. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's
you were happy.
Maybe we did focus on that story more than any other, and it showed. But it
was a good one.
That's what we did. You know what I mean?
And it paid off at the end.
And it was good. Yeah.
Let's get to some fan questions and get out of here. Zol Lopez tweets us at You Didn't Know Pod, at Brian R.D. James, at the Casio Kid. We've talked about how good Jinder looked. Yeah. We just showed the picture of him. He looks chiseled. And Zol's comment goes into that. He says, has anyone in recent memory had as an impressive turnaround in their physique and career quite like Jinder Mahal did?
No, I mean, I can't think of one. I know there was probably some young guys back in the territory days that came in and got a push. Tommy Rich, Ricky Gibson, some of these younger guys from old days come in early and get a big shove. But this kid did a complete turnaround. He got fired. He turned his life around, as with Drew McIntyre, and turned their life around. Not just the way they eat and the way they train. They turned their lives around and focused more on success in their chosen career. And they came back and they both had great success since then. So and look, Heath Slater's doing his own thing. I don't want to leave him out because Heath Slater, baby, he has kids, and we got to take care of them. So he's doing great too. I saw him not too long ago. But yeah, look, Jinder had a great comeback. You know what I mean? He was let go. He remodeled himself and came back stronger than ever. And we put the title on him.
We've kind of hit on it, but Austin Williams, he tweeted us at You Didn't Know Pod. Thoughts on Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens as a tag team? Incredible. Incredible as singles, incredible as a tag, incredible as friends, incredible as, you know what I mean? Any way you put those two guys together, it's incredible. Michael M. at MMX Punk, he tweets us. He says, here's a two-parter, okay? First, Dog, have you ever had a clash with anyone other than your knees? Then he wants to know, second, who would Dog rather clash with, Conrad or Clonrad? Is clash like a slang word for something else? No, what are we talking about? I don't know if it's a fight or just a storyline. Oh, I'm not sure. Collide. Collide. An actual clash, maybe. A body clash. Run into.
You, for sure.
Oh, I was about to say, you don't want to clash with Conrad.
No,
That's a big human being. Large human.
He'd send me for a scoot.
That's a sack of flesh coming at you, son. Top guy Jeremy says, what's your thoughts on women being involved in lumberjack matches, or your thoughts on lumberjack matches in general?
I like lumberjack matches, but I think they're few and far between. Look, I don't think you hadn't seen too many of them recently. You've seen a ton of them, but so I don't know. I like them, and I like the aspect of, when the babyface rolls out and everybody jumps and protects or whatever, and when the heel comes out, they beat the crap out of it. Like, I think that's very entertaining, and I think that's what wrestling is here for. And if it's not entertaining you, it's not its fault; it's your fault.
What's your thoughts on women being involved in lumberjack matches?
Oh, I love it. Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
Honestly, why not? You know what I mean? Like, I know of a bunch of girls that could beat me at soccer. and I mean, I know a bunch of them. There's probably about 4 billion, I mean. But I don't know. Why should they not be, because they're women? Well, tell some of them that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Tell my daughter that. Like, that will punch me in the face if I said something like that. Like I don't know. There's some women that would be angry at you for asking, why would you not let me do that? Yes. You know what I mean? And so
Not the same thing.
Yeah, so you kind of you go with the flow, bro.
Outlaw Corey James says, Ask Dog, how is your relationship with AJ Styles different between TNA and WWE? Also, this is a long shot, but if I ever get to announce for the indie promotion I'm training at, Scott refereed a match for us in October, could I say, you didn't know, it's time for KLT?
You could definitely say that.
Outlaw. What about the relationship, you and AJ, TNA versus
totally
WWE?
different. Totally different. Like, look, I was a producer on live events for TNA, and I worked with AJ at TNA in the ring too, wrestling. My father and I, one of my most memorable matches, just because of my father and I came out in camis, in camouflage pants, and to with a Marine Corps color guard. And it was just very special for me. We wrestled Tomko and AJ. But yeah, totally different relationship. This was me as a lead writer, but what we all also already had was that camaraderie and trust in each other's judgment. And a very open communication, very open line of communication. I'll never forget when I first, and I don't remember which Mania it was after, but we either got Daniel or we got AJ. And so the first Monday Night Raw after that, I booked AJ versus Daniel Bryan. And man, they both came to me and said, you can't do this. This is on free TV. This is blah, blah, blah. And I said, guys, this is exactly what it's for. You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna have this match, and I want you to go at it like it's not a show. What's it called? When you do like Rocky and Balboa did Rocky and Hulk Hogan did an exhibition.
Oh,
I said, act like it's an exhibition, like you guys shake hands, y'all go to Gralaka, and then you get pissed throughout the match, and you end up having a knockdown, drag-out match out of sheer competitiveness. You know what I mean? Out of competition, and you can shake hands at the end. You can do whatever at the end, and so they just did not think it. And I thought, man, this is exactly what this is for. Get this on TV. The finish doesn't matter here. This is a great wrestling match that people want to see. Let's show them. And if we go back to it in 4 months, they'll pay to see it. You know what I mean? Like, I just believe that with all my heart. I don't think we were giving. They said, you're giving it away. And I said, well, guys, that's kind of offensive to me, who writes the show every week in hopes of the ratings going up. Now I have an opportunity to give them a great match that I think is a ratings grabber, and you're telling me I'm giving it away. Like, that's my whole life existence, and you're saying I'm giving it away. No, this is the most important thing in the world to me. This is the show I'm writing. You know what I mean? I have every bit of my blood and sweat and tears into it. And so I don't want to just give anything away. I think I'm whetting the appetite. You know what I mean? I think I'm letting people know what we have here, and we can always go forward with it and do it again. You know what I mean? And nothing will have changed.
Brad Stanton hit us up on the ad-free shows. He says, is Jinder a natural heel, and can you ever see him turning heel?
Well, I kind of thought he was a heel anyway, but I don't know if that was just because he's not American. You know what I mean? But
Right.
and that's sad to say, but true. Like if you're, Rocky fought the Russian guy, the Russian was the bad guy.
Right.
And,
Just for being Russian.
Just for being Russian. And nobody knew him and nobody knew how he felt. And so same here. I thought Jinder was kind of a bad guy the whole way. But if you were Indian, I don't think you would think he's a bad guy. You know what I mean? And I look, if that makes me racist, I sincerely apologize because I do not want to be. But it's just like, he's the bad guy. And in India, he's not the bad guy.
Right.
And so I think that speaks the same for them as it does for me. Like, you know what I mean? I like my guy.
It's part of what wrestling has taught us also in the history is, Iron Sheik or whoever it may be, Nikita Koloff.
Look, that's we all. And here's the sad thing: is you're not allowed to do that anymore. And
Right.
and it's look, what if NCIS or you know what I mean?
Canada.
Yeah,
He's a Canadian. He's a
really
heel,
over.
guys.
They love him there.
Yeah.
But what if Law and Order couldn't have the terrorist be a Middle Eastern guy because that's not right? You know what I mean?
Stereotype, yep.
It's and it is. That's true. That's all true. But this is a fake story that's being told about a guy who's, and if it wasn't stereotypical, you wouldn't cast the guy that way. You know what I mean? But it is, and so I don't know. I got off on a rant there. I apologize.
Devin Dowling says all three. We touched on this a little bit, but all three members of the Riot Squad are now back in wrestling with the return of Sarah Logan on SmackDown with the Viking Raiders. What's the ceiling for these three women? Do you think all of them could hold the world championship
Excuse me. You're talking about the Riot Squad?
Yes, the three Riot
So
Squad.
at the time, I did not think so. At right now.
Yeah.
I think Sarah Logan needs some reps, and me and her actually talked about that. She's been off for a while, and she's had a baby, and so she needs to get in the ring a little bit. But her work she works hard. She works hard and hits hard, and I like that about her. She's like a Brody, like a woman Brody or something. You know what I mean? And so I think all three of them could hold the women's title now for sure.
Well, next week we're going to be discussing you and Jeff Jarrett took over the Southern Territories, USWA versus Smoky Mountain.
Oh, yes, we did. We had a good time. I went broke.
The battle, the battle of the Double J's and their family took place. Ad-free shows. We appreciate you consuming this. Be sure to check that out next week. And you'll know when it drops if you subscribe to wherever you are consuming this.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe, leave
Like
a
and
5-star
subscribe.
rating on all the platforms. Follow us on Twitter at BrianRDJames. I'm at the Casio Kid. The show at You Didn't Know Pod. And of course on YouTube, like, subscribe, turn on notifications at youtube.com/dog. Another one in the book, sir.
Dog. Hey, what was my promo code again to get that T-shirt, the Dapper Dink? Can we throw that up one more time?
I'll
the
get
Dapper
that.
Dog.
Everything's
There it is.
D-O-G-G.
Hey, D-O-G-G. Look, how come the You Didn't Know thing is right on my private parts on that picture? That's Dom. Dom's a weird kid.
We do know why it's there. That's one thing we do know.
Hey, but look at the design of the shirt. Like, that's a pretty color. It's
incredible.
It's nice. Like, you're going to want that.
For the sophisticated outlaw.
And I think it... That's awesome. For the sophisticated outlaw. That's a beautiful thing. Oh, I wish they'd said that on the back or something. And I think Joey Janela's picture's on there, too. I'm not sure.
Check that out at boxinggimmicks.com. You subscribe to adfreeshows.com. You can get this early and ad-free. And, of course, we always appreciate our crew hanging out with us. Derek, Sabato on the notes, the DeAngelo brothers. We appreciate everybody helping us out on this. Dog?
No relation to Tony DeAngelo.
Ooh, Tony DeAngelo's a bad dude.
They're just regular DeAngelos.
Yeah. Oh, they're peasants.
Casio,
they're a bunch of dirty kids.
I want to tell you thank you for putting up with my bull crap on here. I have fun every week when we come on here and talk, dude. I can only hope that the listeners have as much fun as we do. But if they don't, I really nothing I can do for them. I don't know what to tell you. We're having a good time here. You're welcome to come aboard.
You know what to tell them if they don't like it.
Yeah, I tell them this word.
Two words.
2 words for you. Suck it.